để xem được chưa nào. Rồi ok. Ông bạn tôi ơi, ông có đó ông vô chơi với tôi cho vui nào. Ông ơi, ông bạn già của tôi ơi, ông ngon chưa vậy? Lên chơi vui nào. Hello.
With only 3 members of G2 alive, SKT can easily move towards the Baron and secure this objective. We were talking about how this looked like SKT's game. G2, it's very difficult for them to come back. With the draft that they have available to themselves, it's going to rely on a massive mistake from the side of SKT, and with this Baron buff, this next push should be the things to settle it.
Yeah, watch this duel one more time. Khan also has a GA with the Sojin. It's the cooldowns, and it's all about access. Can Caps root and run with Phase Rush enough? Because the Slice and Dice followed in the right way, and then also because he just has so much burst, you never even get the Ornhorn to come through.
Great execution there from Khan. Very
Looking
little
onto Teddy though. Galley ulti is going to come out. They're trying to disengage. They knock him through the ultimate, but Teddy just goes golden, buys a bit more time. The TV now coming in. Yankles will get deleted before the fight even kicks off. Perk's still dealing so much damage. That's the Ornn ult, and maybe it will be enough. Khan steps forward. Faker trying to get something done, but he's focusing on Wonder. He's not going to be able to damage, but Clid wants to end the game, but Caps is going to run more around safety. Caps is trying to win 2 fights at the same time. Wind wall will not be enough. Unstoppable. They will defend the base. They will win the fight, and G2 hold on.
What just happened?
Why didn't Clid fight? Clid pushed mid lane when the team was fighting, and G2 was able to get an extended 5v4 down on the bottom lane. Clid gets 1 Nexus turret, and G2, they repel the Baron push. They stay alive.
Wow. We talked about how SKT needed to make a massive mistake for G2 to stay into this game, and that was the mistake that G2 were looking for, because as you rightly said, Jack, This was a split decision from SKT, and I think Teddy is playing this about near flawlessly as he can, right? He gets the stopwatch, he nearly solo kills Jankos, he's just waiting for the TP to come through it. Keep your eyes on the minimap rather than the fight. Clid is walking in with the minions, and he's like, if all 5 members are there, let's just try and end the game with the Baron buff. And while the fight is taking place, Caps then notices. He throws out the Realm Warp in the middle of the fight to say, okay, I need to get back to my team.
Oh, and then he's able to stop Clid while Perks had enough left to finish off Teddy. That's the type of play that keeps G2 in.
Well, and this is the thing. G2's composition. This is the front-to-back team fight you're dreaming of. When the enemy team only gets to hit Jankos, Mickey, and Wonder, you're having a great time. When you're split up, everything gets harder, and for SKT, it just feels like miscommunication. Now, the good news for this team is they're at a 7K gold.
Yes.
Yeah, they still have Baron. They are not out. That did not cost them the game, but it will cost them time. And time means more opportunities for G2 to find yet another play.
Exactly.
Yeah, they still have Gragas Yasuo. They still have a level 18 Renekton with Sojin. The GA was burned in that fight, so it's still like, no matter what big of a gold lead, a 3v5 or a 4v5 can still go to the team with less gold, so that's what G2 is looking for. They're hoping for a pick onto Teddy, who is down exhaust, or they're hoping for SKT to split themselves up again.
Looks like SKT's main focus is going to be on the Elder Drake.
And G2 will just push mid.
They have control over it for now. They have the bot wave pushed in as well. No inhibitors are down, and a bit of vision will come out from Perks' ultimate, but
he's trying to secure mid lane prio. Faker will back, does not want to remain chunked out by that Ezreal ultimate.
He also finished his death cap, but that recall is going to buy enough time for G2 to get the inside track onto the Elder.
They're gonna rush it.
They have a
rush it.
They should absolutely rush
careful.
No, they're just going to rush it.
Mickey's going to try to body block. Just wants to make sure that Clid can't get into the pit. They need to shred through this one, then get something done. There's no Yasuo there to body block. The cast comes out.
He stole it!
I can't believe it in the moment where it matters most. And Teddy now instantly has backline access. Disaster strikes for G2, but the Galio is now coming in. He wants to turn it, but everyone is dead as Mickey hits the ground. Everyone on his team drops. It is a clean fight for SKT, and Clid is the hero they were waiting for.
the jungle level difference was huge. It was a level 16 Clid to a level 13 Jankos. G2 had to keep him out of the pit to secure that Elder. They could not do it. Clid found the way in, and with a team fight win, SKT are going to equalize the series.
And this
team fight win, SKT are going to equalize the series.
And this series is defying my expectations. If you would have told me Faker takes a bad recall and then his jungler bails him out with the beautiful Elder Dragon Steel, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have told you to get out. Faker does reign supreme because Clid comes.
It's a mistake for G2 to stay into this game, and that was the mistake that G2 were looking for, because as you rightly said, Jack, this was a split decision from SKT, and I think Teddy is playing this about near flawlessly as he can, right? He gets the stopwatch, he nearly solo kills Jankos, he's just waiting for the TP to come through it. Keep your eyes on the minimap rather than the fight. Clid is walking in with the minions, and he's like, if all 5 members are there, let's just try and end the game with the Baron buff. And while the fight is taking place, Caps then notices. He throws out the Realm Warp in the middle of the fight to say, okay, I need to get back to my team.
Oh, and then he's able to stop Clid while Perks had enough left to finish off Teddy. That's the type of play that keeps G2 in it.
Well, and this is the thing. G2's composition. This is the front-to-back team fight you're dreaming of. When the enemy team only gets to hit Jankos, Mickey, and Wonder, you're having a great time. When you're split up, everything gets harder, and for SKT, it just feels like miscommunication. Now, the good news for this team is they're at a 7K gold lead.
Yes.
Yeah, they still have Baron. They are not out. That did not cost them the game, but it will cost them time. And time means more opportunities for G2 to find yet another play.
Exactly.
Yeah, they still have Gragas Yasuo. They still have a level 18 Renekton with Sojin. The GA was burned in that fight, so it's still like, no matter what big of a gold lead, a 3v5 or a 4v5 can still go to the team with less gold, so that's what G2 is looking for. They're hoping for a pick onto Teddy, who is down exhaust, or they're hoping for SKT to split themselves up again.
Looks like SKT's main focus is going to be on the Elder Drake.
And G2 will just push mid.
They have control over it for now. They have the bot wave pushed in as well. No inhibitors are down, and a bit of vision will come out from Perks' ultimate, but
just trying to secure mid lane prio. Faker will back, does not want to remain chunked out by that Ezreal ultimate.
He also finished his death cap, but that recall is going to buy enough time for G2 to get the inside track onto the Elder.
They're gonna rush it.
They have a
rush it.
They should
have to be
absolutely
very
rush
careful.
this. No, they're just going to rush it.
Mickey's going to try to body block. Just wants to make sure that Clid can't get into the pit. They need to shred through this one. They can get something done. There's no Yasuo there to body block. The cast comes out.
He stole it!
I can't believe it in the moment where it matters most. And Teddy now instantly has backline access. Disaster strikes for G2, but the Galio is now coming in. He wants to turn it, but everyone is dead as Mickey hits the ground. Everyone on his team drops. It is a clean fight for SKT, and Clid is the hero they were waiting for.
The jungle level difference was huge. It was a level 16 Clid to a level 13 Jankos. G2 had to keep him out of the pit to secure that Elder. They could not do it. Clid found the way in, and with a team fight win, SKT are going to equalize the series.
And this
team fight win, SKT are going to equalize the series.
And this series is defying my expectations. If you would have told me Faker takes a bad recall and then his jungler
Watched the LeBlanc Lee Sin come through, and it was just an over... they're prioritizing that mid jungle heavily, and I love the fact that Faker recognized that this comp was around him and was playing that much far forward because of it.
Yeah, because the mid jungle was so key, because bot lane, when you have Yasuo, you don't win lane early. You are actually supposed to get pushed in. Typically, G2, we saw it actually earlier at Worlds already, they will push in first wave, Jankos comes down for a level 2 or level 3 dive, they kill the Yasuo. It didn't happen this one because level 1 invade kind of went a bit wrong, and then SKT actually invaded on the red buff, almost, and stopped Jankos from going bot, and that meant Yasuo got to farm, and we were just kind of waiting for something big to happen, and it was around mid.
I just also just love how Faker uses LeBlanc specifically in the passive. A lot of people, when the passive triggers, they're like, oh, that's my lifeline. Oh no, I need to get out. I'm very low. He always moves the clone up to go for these trades. He looks for these offensive moves to try and use it as another cooldown. Here's the chase down onto Jankos because they saw him use the flag into the river there, so he knew he couldn't get away.
Exactly. The fact that he saw them coming, but it was far too late, and then it resulted in this fight.
What's the credit to effort here? He actually left a losing lane and pushed in to go up here early, knowing we're forcing a fight. Also can't. Look, he moved from top much before.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. That was so clean by effort with the body slam, right? That's what we're highlighting? Just a joke.
Yes.
Of course, it's the Lee
let's see it
Sin.
again. Show it to me again.
So, besides the fact that he ward hops after they just briefly lost vision and he's just tracking him as he's moving in Fog of War, you can also trigger your R and then flash to change directions during the windup so that there's no moment in between for the enemies to react.
The Elder may have been the game-winning moment, but this was probably the point where the game really turned on its head.
And Caps actually did a great thing by flashing away from the ult from Gragas, but then he took the trade anyway and was surprised with the amount of people getting over the wall. And that's the thing about modern League of Legends. There's a lot of dashes, there's a lot of damage. People will burn you down if you overextend. In the end, when they get the first kill on him, there's not enough damage on G2, and they can't win this fight here. And Teddy ends up getting, I believe, a triple kill in this fight, and that got him really far ahead in the game.
Yeah, this is 3 Conqueror users versus 2 tanks. Let me tell you, that is no contest. There is nothing that the tanks can do to take down any of those users.
In that one fight, we saw 2 opportunities where G2 were surprised that SKT just diving. The one point that you mentioned, Rise, getting some damage down before he ended up moving back away. Didn't expect SKT to just dive for his head. Second aspect of it too was not only did Ezreal flash but then E4'd in, they were like, okay, instantly Khan found him on that play, so SKT is on point.
This is what we've been highlighting all tournament long, right? It's SK Telecom with their more aggressive look. They have this paradigm shift. They change the way they want to approach League of Legends. And if you're not expecting those more aggressive looks and those dives, then you get punished. It actually happened at G2 in the first game when we were highlighting Khan on weak side. He didn't expect G2 to come behind that tower and dive him.
SKT got the early lead this time around, and we're able to control it to the finish to bring us to 1-1. Before we go to break, make sure you enter for your chance to win a World Prestige Edition chair from Secret Labs. Head on over to secretlab.co, that's .co/LOL Esports, and select your favorite team at Worlds to enter the raffle. Contest is open through November 11th, but you might as well sign up now as we go to break. Get that chair.
Get it?
But he does great. Now we see Jungler
Have been
hanging
spotted.
around.
They're now stepping in. Jankos is on the way. The time is going to connect on both. The Flag and Drag comes through, and Teddy now has to run for the hill.
Game 1, G2 did a great job of avoiding these fights, but this time round with Faker on the block.
Drag over the wall. Clid! Khan, Teddy, and G2 Esports. Goodbye to Mickey. Goodbye to Wonder. That will be the ace for SKT. Teddy now stepping forward. The knockback is there right onto Perks. Perks now going to leap out to safety, but it's not going to be enough. Teddy trying to cut it down, and he will find the kill. The cast comes out.
he stole it!
I can't believe it in the moment where it matters most, and Teddy now instantly has backline access. Disaster strikes for G2, but the Galio is now coming in.
They could not do it. Cloud found the way in, and with a team fight win, SKT are going to equalize the series.
For a drive safe and safe discount.
Yeah, using the app, driving safe.
You wanna go? You wanna go, bro?
Hey, do not mess with my discount. You can save up to 30%.
Let's go!
Nice to meet you. Go get him, Tiger.
Sounds like you've got
Get a discount up to 30% with Drive Safe and Save from State Farm.
Zoom into your imagination.
Nothing escapes hunger.
Has been slain.
Welcome back to Game 3 of this series where SKT and G2 are split at 1-1. And you're looking at it, or you're getting a look at the footage captured from the Oppo Reno 2 camera phone. You can see the fans out in Madrid, Caps' dad, cheering his heart out, which we heard about the babies earlier today, and now I'm just really wondering who is the superior dad. I know Faker's dad is there too, so that's the real question we're going to be asking as we get to Game 3 Champions Select. Of course, I'm kidding. It's been an incredibly neck and neck series. There's going to be a discussion about draft bucks as we're going to get almost immediately back into Champions Select in Game 3.
SKT will be back, so they get side selection. They're going to be looking for first pick. I imagine G2 is fine giving the Renekton over once again. They've showcased they're happy to answer with the players. My question is, what about this Yasuo? What's going to happen?
Exactly, because we saw G2 give over Gragas Yasuo to Damwon and have a very good strategy against it to crash a dive +1, and then they tried the same thing this game, or sorry, in game 2, but the level 1 went to Rise. So then the question will be backstage, does G2 say, hey, we can't give them that in draft again? Or we can't make that execution error again? And then the added wrinkle is we're switching back sides, so that situation may never arrive.
Could see, though, rears his head again. This Game 4. So far, blue side has been the choice. All 3 of our games for the team with side selection. It is the Syndra, it is the Kiana for SK Telecom Q1.
Interestingly enough, exactly the same bans as we've seen to this point as in game 1 when they were on the same sides. This is where it probably changes, though, because SKT had a Quinn ban before. Do they ban the Rise, or are they willing to first pick it?
All there is now is to see it counts down. A single ban may not seem like much, but it could be game defining, and most certainly will be draft defining.
It's a question of what these teams want the game to be about. SKT doesn't want this one to be about the Yasuo.
Of course, last time in the previous game, we did see both the Xayah as well as the Kai'Sa banned away, so they may be looking for a more conventional bot lane matchup. This series, G2 could ban away one of those premier picks.
Do they ban the Renekton, or do they ban the Rise?
When's the last time we've seen G2 and SKT ban this? They are working through the possibilities live, going down to 0-0 at the very top.
So I think they go for the prioritize the Xayah. Oh, now they're forcing G2 to go, okay, now you have to play Renekton, because we don't think you want to play Renekton, G2 esports.
And they'll do Xayah here.
They'll either do Xayah Renekton, or they'll do... Oh, you could just do Renekton Elise right now. You could do Renekton Elise. Like, it's such a strong duel. It guarantees you a strong top side. Oh, but of course the Quinn is open. So
go with the Gragas. There's so much available.
So you can't just blind pick the Renekton.
This is really
This has to be Elise. G2 value Elise too much.
Once again, we're just counting down over and over. But it looks like bot lane priority will be the name of the game. They want to make sure Perks and Mickey are set up for success.
They spend all their draft bucks on the bottom lane. Those are the priority picks they are choosing, because now they've blocked Nautilus Kai'Sa. It's now also a Kai'Sa in Nautilus if that's what SKT wants to go for, or they'd have to go into a more passive bottom lane.
Leona, they could just roll Kai'Sa Leona again.
Likely, or, right, with Renekton still up, if they don't think G2 can counter, do they want this game to again be about the Renekton, because they have an option to do really anything they want?
I feel like they'll do the Leona now. I think they want to guarantee themselves, at the very least, an even bot lane, and with the Renekton and the Quinn, all these things still up and available.
Maybe they do a jungler here.
Oh.
Not that jungler. I was going to say Gragas.
Yeah?
Okay.
All right,
there are so many mind games going on. It's just like, but you, but I, but you, but I, but you, but I.
With the Gragas Elise open to just throw down on that red side, that to be unsurprised we've actually had a draft all series.
The advantage for me of this is that G2 don't have to lock their jungler in now. They could just grab themselves the Renekton, but
they don't want to play. They're going to grab the Elise instead. Rather have their pick of the remaining junglers. Of course, with Elise and Gragas still up, they could have waited to pick, but have opted to secure the Elise early.
So the position that SKT are now in is they could ban the counters to Renekton and say, go on then, pick it. Because if you're not going to pick it, then we'll pick it and we know all the counters are. So the choice is up to you. And what's interesting is G2 are now banning some of the Renekton counter picks away as well.
And I think another big question is, what is G2's response to Rise? Because they have been the ones that have been able to control the Rise pick for most of the knockout stage, including the first 2 games. I'm fascinated by what Cats is going to be able to pull up, because that's where the counter picks really become a big question. We know Nemesis thought Cassiopeia would beat it. We know going back to playing, your boy from Detonation Focus Me thought Nocturne beat it. I don't think we're going to see that in this series, but the possibilities are endless.
Once again, this is a situation where we've seen every kind of champion spammed in solo queue over the last few days, so there could be a litany of pre-prepared practice picks that could come through.
They think it's Fled. Those are the two bad picks that are most commonly picked into Fled, so they want to blind pick it right now. That has to be their focus. I think that they're fine giving the enemy Renekton, and they're saying, okay, you have to find some bad counters next time. At least these are the bad ones. This is what they did against Bananas when they're playing against
Ooh, SKT spotted out. They say, we see what you're going for, we will take the Fled away. And now it'll be the Camille. And those are other solid options.
Wow. So now we're getting to see Wonder on the hard carry. We have not seen this for a while, but if we think back to MSI earlier in the year, this was one of his most well-known picks. This is something that he generated a huge amount of pressure in a side lane on, but of course SKT more than happy to play Renekton into that. Yes, Camille can play pretty safe. You can do things like the Comet, and you can just harass with the W and just play a very safe lane phase, but eventually you will outscale.
The Elise Camille duo is still one that has to be respected, but now it will be the Leona as predicted earlier in the draft to pair with Petty's Kai'Sa. The question is, this is what we get to see finally. What is the answer to this Rise thing? Faker's Rise.
The interesting thing is the Rise and the Renekton are both flexible.
No way.
They could. There's a lot of dashes on the SKT team. Do a G2. Not doing it.
That's not. That's kind of yeah. I'm not going to say it's the coward's way out, but the Vanguard would have been a little bit more.
So Orianna is, of course, still a very good matchup into the Rise. It just gives you a little bit more power in the lane, and it makes it harder for Faker to be able to roam. So it's understandable. Because, of course, what you don't want, if you're G2, is to allow Faker to just, okay, I'm going to push in a Veigar, and then I'm going to roam top, and I'm going to dive with my Renekton. So I think it's fine. I understand why they did it, but I think that coming into this game, G2 will likely need to play through both sides of the game. I think it's important to set up ganks and plays on the Renekton. So I think that for Wonder, you're just hoping to allow him to survive. Whereas Perks and Mickey can easily find 2v2 kills, and I think they're going to be looking to use with Yankees to try and find an advantage.
I agree with that. I also think, as far as the tournament meta, SKT has way more of the meta comp.
Oh, for sure.
The Renekton Rise Kai'Sa as your carry threats, very proven to work. The Camille Ori combo, not as much. Not to say J2 can't do it, but they are definitely the ones that are forced to reach back a bit more in this Game 3 draft.
Here we go, getting ready for Game 3. My question to both of you is, take the nameplates off. Who do you think came out on top of this draft?
I personally think SKT, because they have way more early game agency. I think the bot lane matchup is very fine for them. And the biggest thing is, I believe that when SKT give Faker agency, that allows them to give mid agency. So the mid-jungle duo is the most important thing, and I think SKT have the stronger mid-jungle.
Now it's going to come down to execution. Here we are, tied 1-1. Who will move up to match point? As we get into Game 3, SK Telecom T1 versus G2 Esports for a spot in the final for Spun plus Phoenix.
Now, the second that we got into game, Teddy spammed that Cleanse was on Perks. They're recognizing and acknowledged that he is going for more of the defensive summoner spell this time. He wants to be able to break the single target crowd control that comes out from SKT, and it gives you a little bit more lane safety as well.
It's a teleport disadvantage for G2. So, the way we saw the first two games play out was a battle for mass pressure that G2 was fighting, and then SKT was fighting to corral them against if Faker commits to split pushing off, because they have the TP advantage, they have the Realm Warp advantage, and it's going to be very interesting to track how Caps can go on a cleanser.
Now, the only advantage that Caps has is mobile, which means he will be able to get one teleport. Well, he gets one, right? So it's not something that he's going to have at all points in the game. He has to pick when he decides to pivot over to that. But you're 100% right, Jack, in that for the majority of this game, Faker and Khan can be generating pressure on a side lane. But I think that with their comp, they shouldn't be too afraid to force team fights either. Their dive is very strong. They have a very solid mid-game spike. And I think that Teddy, on the back of a Leona ultimate, can quite easily one-shot this Orianna if she does her position properly. So I think the biggest thing SKT has to be careful of is Wonder on this field. I think that he's going to be the biggest side lane threat that will be the hardest for SKT to deal with. And I imagine that they will want to try and shut him down. What surprises me is Quid is actually doing a top side start. So he's actually pathing towards bot side, suggesting that he wants to be in a position to answer any early plays made by G2 on the duel of 10 years.
And I love the quick trades that we're seeing on the bottom side for SKT. That's a fast level 2, though. Top side, Wonder back off.
And I think it comes down to a larger question of, is SKT playing through their priority, or are they playing through G2's priority, or to prevent it? And the Clid path down towards bottom side would suggest that they're playing to prevent G2's priority. Saying they use their first 2 picks on the Xayah Nautilus, and then they also pick the Elise early. They very much want to be able to play through this side, and they want to get stage for
We saw before the Nico answer coming in for Faker up against the Rise, how it came down to a single ultimate. If he found 5 people, it would have been a game win for SKT. He could not, and now it's a similar story for Caps. So we see the setup for the gank on the bottom side. Teddy just going to pull back, though. They should be fine as Jankos wants to move in. Dive comes in from Khan, though. This is going to be big. Wonder still alive. The flash out. That's going to be first blood. Khan lives! Outplayed on the top side, but now the engage on the bottom. Were they going to be able to get the CC down? They are. That's the kill response back from G2.
That could be something as simple as Effort looking top and be like, ooh, good job. And then it's just completely caught off guard. There's no reason for Effort to actually be sitting up that far when the wave is going to crash anyway. So G2 get one back after Khan gets the solo kill.
Khan just seems to be ramping up in this series. In game 1, sure, his Renekton was not that impactful. Game 2, his team fight presence was definitely known, and he had some pretty great plays in a side lane. Now in game 3, already finding a solo kill onto Wonder, and he's just been taking so many favorable trades early on. Wonder burns the shield early, which means that when Khan comes for the dive, he's able to just melt through his HP bar, and if it weren't for the Triumph, Khan would have lost his life.
Fantastic play on the top side. I thought for certain Khan was dead, but manages to come out on top. Wonder's going to be miserable in this lane now. The pull from Khan is a bit of a reprieve that is less of an aggressive item than, say, an early longsword, but it does mean that he'll be even more threatening in the mid-game. Now Perks has been locked up. Going to do damage, cleanse, and flash coming out. Right now, Wonder's been caught out again. That's going to be one more kill. Khan gets yet another top side kill.
Wonder's in a really bad spot. It looks like the wave's not freezing. It could actually be way worse. I'm not sure if there was a chance for them to freeze that wave, or if they pushed it out of choice. I wouldn't think they pushed it out of choice, though, because that could have been the beginning of the wave when the decision was made.
What they could have done is they could have actually had the wave push towards Khan and then just stopped it. And then Wonder can never approach that wave. He's already the 1v1 he's losing, and Clid is just passing around outside the map. So far in this early game, this is exactly what we expected to see from SKT, playing towards the strong side of the map, trying to shut the Camille down so that she gets to that strong side lane point much later in the game. Now we see Jankos in mid lane, boots already completed, looking for a play, but Faker, respecting he has no mana, gonna disengage.
Mickey there as well, spotted that one out. There's been a lot of roams mid from Mickey. Faker giving them the respect that they deserve. Back completely out of mana, and we look back at this one, Wonder too confident, already a level depth. Doesn't hit the wall.
Misplay by Wonder. Just trying to look at that wave with the aggro that was on them. I don't know if it was freezable. That's a pro view look back, but you can see the reaction from Ocelot there, knowing how big it is to die, teleport back, die again, and be up against a Renekton in that matchup.
And now look at the positioning of Elise. Bot side camps are up for hanging around the top side to avoid any other potential dives.
If they can turn it.
But Khan's gonna hit level 6 suit. Oh, actually,
he won't. He won't hit 6 in time. They can turn it.
Shot wall dive. Adaptive defenses have come out. Khan slowed down. They're trying to run this one slow. He will manage to hit the Cocoon, even as the dash away comes out. But Khan with so much healing coming into the Conqueror. Is he going to be able to escape from this one? Wonder wants to finish off the kill desperately. He will get the shutdown, and hope comes alive for G2.
So huge that they get that kill onto Wonder. He's actually back in the game now. That is something that a 2-0 Renekton can't let happen. Clid doesn't stay to play the game through topside, instead trying to help out bot a little bit. Yes, they get the Mountain Draken, but that play was a must for G2.
The response from SKT, very good. Immediately, they're pathing towards bot lane anyway because Clid wanted to clear out his bot side camps. He's able to secure the mountain, but on top of that, they completely zoned Perkz and Mickey away from an entire wave of farm. Because Faker had Prio in mid, it meant that they could have collapsed as a 4-man, and Perkz has no summoner spells. So SKT, even with the loss on top side, still generating a lot of pressure on the other side of the map.
Clid in the mid lane. Jankos level 5 to the level 6 of Clid.
He needed to flash the shockwave because he knew he had Clid there as well and probably wanted G2 to fully commit. But great roam by Wunder to be there and make it a 3v2.
And it was Wunder that also picked up the kill, which is really important in the context of the top lane matchup, because what SKT want to do is mitigate this split pusher, getting into a position where he is outscaled. Now, Jankos with a beautiful cocoon sets up the play onto Khan. It almost looks like he's going to get away, but the last hit does come in through Wunder. The moment Khan tries to take that small pivot turn, and he finds a kill. 2 now is in the back pocket of Wunder. He's working towards getting to a point where he can outduel and outscale Khan and Asylum. You can see there's only a 200 gold gap between the two.
The top side of the map, very much leading in gold for G2. Teddy, though, silently winning on the bottom side. 70, working towards that Mount Immune, and has been having a very good lane phase up against Perkz' Xayah. We heard from Frost yesterday on cooldown. Considers Perkz the best Xayah player at Worlds, best Xayah player in the world, and now has to deal with Teddy, who has been having a fantastic series following that Yasuo game.
Yeah, I really want to reinforce that because a lot of the hype and excitement was surrounding Perkz coming into the semifinal, but Teddy was like this steady rock that kind of just sat in the backline and very much did his job. And the conversation we were having earlier in the week, Jack, was how G2 play very differently around Perkz compared to how SKT play around Teddy. That's not to say they can't play that way around Teddy. And when they do, he is a devastating force to deal with. It. For SKT, they haven't needed to so far because he's just been doing so well in the 2v2.
But they're playing around him right now. You can see Clid and Faker getting river control with the Ryze. This is what everyone does with the Ryze pick, and they threaten Perkz and Mickey. But interestingly, they actually are trying to roam mid instead. It doesn't look like much is working for this SKT play. But they're going.
Coming in, trying to box them in, the flash in. The Elise comes up, they should still be able to grab the kill onto Jankos. He's gonna be able to back off. Zenith Blade missing there from Effort. A lot of time wasted for SKT.
And a flash from Faker. A huge force attempt there by SKT where they actually, they had the opportunity to create bottom lane pressure. They could have had probably 2 plates for free when they had 2 people roamed into the jungle, but they tried the switcheroo, the mind game, and it completely fails.
And now suddenly we go from SKT looking like they're dominating in the solo lanes, winning on the bot side of the map as well, to a very even, very close game once again on the back of a few of those top plays from the side of G2. While SKT have been certainly leading the pace of the game, G2 is now matching them blow for blow.
Are we surprised that it's close so far? The funniest thing to me was how Jat was talking about at MSI, whoever got an early game lead won the game, period. Didn't matter. But this series, the gold difference has always been like 100 gold once you hit the 15-minute mark because of how often these teams just trade kills, objectives, everything.
But who wins if no one wins the early game? What happens then? We get a great series. It's actually the answer.
Full trade on the top side. Khan coming out on top though. That Conqueror plus the Stain on the Cold of Meek makes it very hard for Wunder to win. Now the flash in, he's gonna hit Faker. Jankos coming in, that's a lot of CC, it's a lot of damage, but they're now gonna need to pull back. They know Faker doesn't have a flash, it's gonna cost a TP though. Flash in, they're gonna kill Jankos. Goes up, there's no camp there. He can't come down, Jankos gets locked up. Faker's gonna grab the kill.
So that 4-man roam worked for the rest of SKT, even though it was G2 who ended up forcing. Strangely enough, Betty, this series, we prophesized that it was going to be about mid laners leaving. This game is about everyone going mid.
Yes, it certainly is. And now Khan has found Wunder. He wants to continue trading. He knows he's stronger at this point in the game. He's forcing him back. But Khan had to commit his TP to that mid lane play. That was the biggest thing that forced Jankos and Mickey to immediately disengage. Perkz now has his eyes on Effort and Clid. He's just going to disengage. But now SKT actually have a very solid early game advantage. They now have about a 1k gold lead. A lot of the gold gap exists between the top laner and AD carries, whereas mid is pretty even.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for SKT is the gold on Teddy at this point. Based on the early game, we might have thought top, but based on how many plates he's got, we'd think that. And as Mickey does tag Faker, they don't actually have the full burst combo just with Elise and Nautilus, and good job by Clid to just flash in there for the execute damage, and a little bit fortunate that the Raptor camp was down, otherwise he would have been able to get away. Ooh, they just get an Inferno.
Okay, but it looks like it's going to be a trade of an objective. Of course, Khan with pressure still on the top side means Clid should be able to walk in, fight for that one. Not ideal to give up the Infernal to this composition.
I like that SKT have actually moved their duo into mid lane rather than just doing a full-on swap. They know that Khan is still winning in the 1v1 and they want to keep that setup, but they also need Teddy and Effort nearby in the event that G2 tried to contest this Herald. So they've sent Faker bot, he has the TP, they can now collapse onto the top lane and they can use this to secure the first tower of the game. G2 need to respond by trying to push in that bot tower as well.
And Wonder is out of there. Has learned from the last time he got tower dive this game, is not interested in sticking around, and it looks like for SKT, very clear where they want to put their resources. Jet, you mentioned it earlier, but Teddy is getting everything.
Yeah, they're giving him total solo gold on this first turret, but the big question to me will be how does SKT match the rest of the map, because they should know that G2 is setting up to also try and trade the bot turret and would threaten to dive elsewhere.
Wonder.
SKT just goes for Wonder.
Hookshot wall dive will be the ult out from Effort. Teddy continuing to push in. Caps on the way. Wonder could just use the ultimate, but they have to be careful here. Yanko's on the way in as well. Tactical sweep will not connect onto Teddy. They will be able to clear this one out, but a lot of gold into Teddy's back pocket. Should already have the Q evolve on the side of the Kai'Sa and is building towards that Rage Blade and eventually the Supercharger as well.
Now Perkz being left in isolation in the bot lane means that he will eventually take this tower down, and SKT shouldn't be able to answer, but they did push in mid. Ooh, teleport coming in from Faker. There's not much that Perkz is going to be able to do about this one.
Faker's just going to be able to walk up. Of course, Perkz not with a ton of mana. Has the cleanse, which makes him a little bit more comfortable, but can't really actually force a fight, but does have the necessary tools to retreat.
I mean, G2 did manage to get a good number of plates off of that. You can see the gold still only 1,000 strong, and SKT a little bit behind on trying to get pressure around this bottom turret. Looks like they're going to rotate in time, though.
But Teddy is now here,
more
along with Clid. 4 members of SKT are in position to defend. The Drake is a little way off, so it's not likely that they'll try and force this, but at the very least, they stop G2 from claiming any kind of map pressure, and if they want, they can even rotate to mid, push that wave in, and start getting a little bit more deep vision, because Khan can also rotate down from the top side.
To see. You can see 8 turret plates to 5. Of course, still, as you mentioned, 1k gold lead being held onto for now. Cass with the blue buff should just be able to auto clear out most of these waves. Lupin's Echo means he will be a bit more of a threat, but neither team wanting to overforce for an objective. Just very similar to game 1, trades across the map. Trade after trade after trade. But G2 do not have an option to trade here on the bottom side, so they will just move in to try to deny the play.
Yeah, Effort looks scattered to me, though. He's had a few ultimates where his team never would have been able to follow up. He just there, instead of walking through the turret while his team could roam, he actually ruins the blast cone himself and then flashes over. So G2, I think, should look to attack this, and it's strange to watch this game, actually, because oftentimes in best of 5s, the first game is where we see the jitters, and then the teams settle coming into games 2 and 3. It feels the opposite here. It feels like games 1 and 2 were super great in terms of quality, and this game, there's a little bit of indecision and jitters.
It's Khan pushing on the top side against the 4 members of G2 pushing on the bottom side. They will break this tower. Khan making a bit of damage down top side. The Herald has done a lot of work there, but Wonder's on the way up to respawn. We'll be able to keep the tower alive for now. The tactical sweep healing him up. Probably still cannot win the 1v1, but can just clear out the waves. Both top laners with the Tiamat.
What I liked about what G2 just did was they actually held Wonder mid lane so that SKT couldn't be threatening 2 waves. This wave is going to come very delayed, which means G2 can answer, and all they had to defend was the top tier 2. Because they ended up being able to respond in time, G2 actually keep all of their towers alive, and now SKT is forced to reset. The Dragon will be the next big point of contention.
Yeah.
Teddy has to make a decision. Does he want to reset now, or does he want to make a play for the bot tower? I agree with the choice to reset. Spend the gold. If the Rage Blade is ready to be completed, finish that one off so that when the Mountain Dragon spawns, you're in a position to fight.
Exactly. If we want to forecast beyond just the next 45 seconds of Mountain Drake and think about what happens in 10 or 15 minutes, the second Mountain Drake or the first Mountain Drake for G2 are massively important. A Kai'Sa with 2 mountains melts Baron so incredibly quickly.
I mean, she does them without them, mate.
Yeah, what 1 mountain does something, 2 mountain is incredible. If G2 gets a mountain, they also get a higher amount of Baron threat, even if their composition isn't necessarily designed for it.
But between the Rise and the Kai'Sa, the sustained damage is incredible from the side of SKT. Now the good news for G2 is that Teddy is still a long way off of fully stacking that tier, only about 450. It's going to make him even more lethal in the fights to come. Having double evolve pretty early on for SKT is going to make their fights very, very potent.
So I really do think G2 trying to force a fight here would be a bad decision. The better choice for them is actually to play for mid tower. Because of how strong Khan is at this point in the game, with a fully completed Black Cleaver, a 5v5 I really think would go in SKT's favor.
They're going to pick one anyway. Knockup's going to come out. Clid will be able to make it out. Faker phase rushing away. The disengage comes through. Yanko's burning his flash for that, trading with Clid, and now Wonder's in trouble. Khan knows that he's isolated. Hookshot, wall dive out to safety. Stun still connects.
Wait a minute, it's a forgiving stun.
Wasn't that interaction?
He might want to go flash for flash. He has ultimate as well if he wants to reset.
Fine, that's a stun. Big ulti now going to come out trying to cancel a few animations. Hextech ultimatum. Tack sweep to take him away. Khan will get nothing. But keeps his flash, trading it for Wonder.
Well, here.
TP, hook.
Shockwave, blind shockwave.
Yo, they're going to get him. Khan locked up. He's trying to get something back. A beautiful pick from G2.
And ultimately, G2 knew that they could not fight for the Drake as long as Khan was in a position to TP. The moment Khan realized that G2 had used a lot of their engage tools, largely from Mickey, then Khan knew rather that he could go for that all-in 1v1. What he didn't realize was the positioning of G2 and how they could answer.
And a fantastic 1v1 from Khan, getting the flash basically for nothing in the end, but costing his life is brutal. Good news is Faker is on the bottom side. He does respond with the tower. SKT hold on to their 1k gold lead as well as securing the mountain.
So SKT is still in a very favorable position. At this point in the game, to me, they feel a lot stronger. Teddy has a level advantage over Perks. He has 2 items completed. The Rod of Ages has started stacking, and Faker is going to be working towards his Archangel Staff. He's probably going to have it very soon. And as we mentioned, the Black Cleaver already done on Khan. It's one of those situations where, similar to Game 1, G2 want to avoid fighting for now. That's not to say they won't want to fight a little bit later, but a lot of the, in my opinion, the biggest win condition is Wonder on a side lane. So they just need to keep getting resources funneled into him. They need to get more items completed on him. They need to get him to a point where he can duel Khan to split SKT up.
And with the way the level 3 top lane turret dive went, followed up by the return gank from Clid, Wonder should be actually happy in context about his decision where he is right now. And in the larger picture of the game, Faker is probably going to keep applying split push pressure. So I don't think there's a necessity for either team to force at this moment, but with double mountain, definitely expect SKT to be more towards the top side, because if they can get one pick and convert that into the Baron, that's their avenue to victory.
Yeah, well, they don't have to force. They can. G2 probably not going to be able to match that in terms of just raw Baron threat. Once again, Rise plus the Kai'Sa, some tankier members in both the Renekton and the Rek'Sai. We'd have to see how the Camille versus Renekton or Camille versus Rise matchup plays out as we get further, because while the Rise will scale up, we also have the Spear of Shojin to take into account in the back pocket of Khan. G2 just doing what they can to get a bit of vision.
The other thing to notice is the level differences. Faker has a level on Caps, Teddy has a level on Perks, and because of how they're playing, this is probably going to keep mounting. Faker is going to free farm in a side lane, whereas Caps is going to be forced to group like you're seeing right now. Teddy is having a lot more resources funneled into him, whereas Perks sitting on a side lane, it's very dangerous for him to do the same thing. So SKT is always kind of one step ahead in the sense of right now in the state of the game, they just have that initial advantage. Even if it's not that big in the gold, just the stats and the itemization and levels they have makes them that much stronger than G2.
And now, the inevitable Baron setup. So SKT are going to do what they can to get mid lane priority. Kicking Khan, it looks like, once again, back out to a side lane, back up to the top side of the map. The rest of SKT grouping, seeing that they already have bot wave pushing in their favor, knowing that Wonder will be forced to respond to that one, means that they have control over the top side unless G2 are willing to commit a TP to fight for it.
Teddy is actually very close to converting into a Murmano from his Manamune, which would actually give him a fairly substantial power spike.
And additionally, it looks like he's going for a bit of AP itemization. Still a lot of hybrid damage in that build, of course, as the Acathian Rain is physical damage, but has to be respected as we get later and later. Obviously, the defensive itemization as well will make it very difficult to lock that Kai'Sa down.
Yeah, and the vision has actually been traded. You can see Wonder trying to get that push down on the bottom side, and SKT, they can just start this. It is checked by a control ward, but Jankos Jankos isn't close. SKT doesn't know that, but they have a chance to burn this down if they really want to.
4K, it's getting lower and lower. 2K, it's going to drop. They're going to back away.
They didn't know where Jankos was.
They're hoping for the play, but Effort's been locked down. He's so incredibly low, and now the fight's going to kick off. A perfect Nautilus also get everything going. A Cocoon to follow up. A TP now coming in. Baron will reset, and Mickey will walk away with his life.
When SKT watches this back, they are going to be so sad they didn't just finish the Baron because they had it in the bag. What ends up happening, though, as G2 collapses, not only do they kill Effort, they get the mid priority because of the turret kill.
Let's just take into account everything that G2 just got off the back of that play. The obvious one is a kill. The next obvious one is a mid tier 1. But the least obvious one is the fact that Wonder is now level 14. He's now close to completing that Trinity Force because while SKT were trying to force this play, and they were very close to securing it, forcing the TP in from Wonder, the indecisiveness here, I think they just wanted to turn and fight, they wanted to use it, but they did not get baited in. Now Wonder, he could be in trouble.
Hookshot wall dive, Realm Warp now coming out, but they're going to respond with the TP. They say, you want to make this our arena, we're going to match you, but he will be stunned immediately as he comes out, and that's disastrous for the side of G2. Wonder gets deleted, that's 2 kills for SKT. They can run straight for the Baron, but Khan, not even in trouble. He's going to manage to make it out. SKT in advantage.
And Effort steps up with the perfect Solar Flare on TP, and now Faker is hunting.
Jankos doesn't even know. From the darkness, the flash out, the Cocoon will not connect. Spider form of the Krug's up. He's got to be asking himself, should be able to go up into the air.
Oh, the fog, he lost vision.
But
if
now,
Jankos somehow steals this, that flash would be huge. But SKT has all the cards right now.
His smite is down. I don't think there's anything that he can do. They're going to go straight towards the Drake and trade. And disaster for G2 as SKT find a great collapse on the side lane. They did this in game 1 but couldn't convert it into anything. This time, though, they convert it into Baron. SKT with the punish playstyle coming up huge against G2.
And G2, just a consolation prize, and that has to hurt because something else we talked about was TP discrepancies. And it's bigger for mid lane than it is for anywhere else because yes, Caps has the spellbook, but he burned that TP. That TP is wasted. He will not have access to another one for a very long time.
And this isn't the matchup Wonder's been staring at all game. He's been used to fighting up against the Renekton. Faker's Rise, knowing when he can strike Realm Warp straight back in. And look at this timing by Effort. The instant he arrives, he is completely stunned. That allows Teddy to fly in as well. Beautiful play by SKT.
And G2, a bit too bold. Not giving SKT respect.
I mean, I honestly just think it was a lack of map awareness because Wonder should have recognized that the enemy was missing. They were in mid lane and then the map went dark and he should have shown more restraint. He ends up getting blown up by Faker, who's now level 15. We've been talking a lot about this experience difference, and SKT is setting themselves up perfectly to get to match point in this series.
And let's see what they do with this Baron, because the previous 2 Barons, they've actually gotten forced to fight onto and not been able to take advantage of it.
Trying to find the pick on Effort. That's a huge shockwave. They can get the fight kicked off. Effort now has to run for his life, but they've locked in the middle of everything. Faker walking around the wall. Teddy now trying to get something done. G2 trying to fire back. Khan is still alive, but Caps will find the kill. But now Clint into the midst of the fight. Teddy is going massive. Teddy is not enough because Perks is there to find the shutdown.
It happens again! SKT get their first Baron, and G2 find a favorable fight to negate it. Even if SKT had the position there with the double mountain and everything they would have needed to take an advantage, they get a bad fight, and G2 take it home.
I need to stop saying this team is set up to win the game because every time I do, a terrible fight seems to happen. But for SKT, they just got caught out of position, and G2's ability to find that pick was monumental. They're still at a goal deficit, but importantly, they buy time. Now we can see SKT setting up for the siege in mid lane. As we can see in this What's Your Move replay, they're setting up for a dive onto mid. They use a lot of ultimates, but then the 2-man shockwave hits. Everyone on SKT is actually pretty split. The 2 frontliners die immediately while Clint and Faker aren't doing anything. Then Teddy goes beast mode, and you think this is it, but then Perks with the feathers kills everything.
And specifically Wonder came in at the end to get a stun onto Teddy, which stopped his auto attack cadence to be able to get that kill. Definitely some big miscommunication by Faker. We saw in game 2, he had the late recall. It didn't end up mattering because Clid stole the Elder Dragon, but he wouldn't have been there for that fight. Faker starts this fight by channeling Realm Warp into the turret to take minions. That says, yo, we're diving. Effort's there to follow up, but it's Faker who ends up calling out that play, and the team pays the price.
And that was, for Teddy, an incredibly powerful point in the game. He had just finished 3 items to the 2.5 that Perkz was rocking at the time. That was his fight to win. One more Kathy and Rain probably would have killed both Perkz as well as Wonder, but did not get the time. And moments like that are what you look back at. That is the Baron that they failed to burn down earlier, and this is yet another moment to follow where SKT are going to be hitting themselves.
Okay, so we need to kind of take stock of the current map situation, because unsurprisingly to anyone, both these teams are in a very even state. But we have to think about the context of the compositions. SKT can split push. Rise, very strong. Level advantage over Wonder. Khan can't really 1v1 Wonder anymore, but Faker still can, which means SKT still have opportunities to be able to play through the side lane. I feel that SKT's 5v5 is a little bit stronger just because of their ability to engage and how I feel Elise offers very little value in these later game fights. However, the shockwave is so important to take into consideration. Caps, even though he's 2 levels behind Faker, is still very strong. And this could be the biggest swing factor in these fights. So I think this is a game where a big team fight could determine the outcome.
Anytime there's an Orion in the game, watch for the shockwave.
Yep.
We've seen throughout League of Legends history, many times it was Faker who would land the shockwave that could turn the game. Now, it would be for Caps to land, as G2 actually have some pressure bottom lane with Faker pushing mid, and they might go.
Protocol doing a ton of damage to the tower. Khan now 50%. They're just going to break this one down. They're just barreling into the base. Faker just now getting back.
How did they just get away with this? Like, SKT were just watching G2 set up full vision control on the bot side. They were pushing the wave in, and they just gave them everything.
I gotta say, Faker does not look in sync with his team, which is something I almost never say at a World Championship. He was pushing top. He didn't even get that turret down. There was a miscommunication about SKT's ability to defend versus Faker's ability to push that top lane quickly, and it was wrong because G2 get that, and then they also just get an uncontested Mountain Drake.
And now SKT is using this time to actually reset. Look, they don't have wards. They cannot gain vision around the Baron, which means G2 get to push out their waves, get a better opportunity to reset, and while SKT will be first out on the map, players like Khan still need to go back to base, still need to restock on their vision, unless they can interrupt some of the G2 members.
And these next 3 minutes are going to be a massive gut check. We haven't had a 5-game series yet in the knockout stage. Everything's gone 3-1. The 1-1 breaker has been the game that ends up sending the series into a 3-1 conclusion. This is so big for SKT, who has misstepped with their Baron to refine their footing and come back. And for G2, it's their opportunity to pounce.
G2 pushing into Fog of War has to be very, very careful.
Oh,
This Protocol will connect.
But SKT didn't want to be found.
They're splitting up. Teddy on the backside, of course, has the ultimate, can leap at a moment's notice wherever he needs to go in the fight.
Look at the map state. Bot lane is pushing in favor of G2, but it will slowly push back towards SKT. They have a slow push building up. Top wave is actually pushing in favor of SKT, while G2 have mid priority. Given the positioning of SKT right now, G2 is going to make a beeline towards Baron to clear out some of the vision. But look at all these deep wards that are sitting behind. The opportunity for a TP flank from the side of SKT is very real, and they could look for it right now.
They may just have to be willing to commit that TP because Faker is not anywhere near the team quite yet. He is running down mid lane as fast as he can, hoping to get in. Good damage coming in from Teddy, though. G2 may just be fishing for the pick.
SKT looks so out of sync right now, but Khan is set up, and they're trying to find some semblance of order here.
It's a split call. They have vision on the top side, but they don't want Khan to push up by himself. They
Wonder
want to be
has
ready for the
teleport.
fight.
They could just send him, but they're actually sending him bot. They want to be able to threaten the inhibitor. And this means SKT should just go straight to Baron.
And it forces SKT into doing Baron, which Perkz, or rather the rest of G2 would likely be happy with based on what happened last time. SKT wasn't willing to 50-50.
They fight the full 5v5. The combat sums of G2 will be in their favor. Big shockwave set up. They put themselves in the pit. That could be everything. Faker, it will be the guaranteed knockup. Caps moving in, looking for the perfect shockwave. The Baron will go down, but can G2 find the fight? Caps instantly taken out. The cleanse will not be enough. No, Caps alive on the backside, doing what he can. A sliver of life left, yet still keeping his team alive. And Faker and Khan are on the retreat as G2 push in. The hook shot, the wall dive. They will manage to make it out. Khan trying to delete Wonder. They're going to get one back. It's such a close fight. Faker is fearless. He will make the slow retreat. The last man standing with the Baron buff for SKT.
SKT may walk away with the Baron, but they lose 4 members to get it. Only Faker holds on to the buff in what was an incredibly tense fight.
And if Faker dies, the game can still end. The death timers were low enough there. So, holy crap. We got to recoup what just happened because the game is still even after that.
And G2 have not gotten a Baron yet this series. SKT have been flawless in that objective control, but they keep winning fights, and at the end of the day, that's what matters most in this game.
So we get to see the fight play out. Wonder doesn't bother split pushing because he realizes how quickly this is going down. And what a flash from Faker to avoid that knockdown. If he had been rooted, he would have died. Instead, Caps uses his ultimate into the pit, secures an initial kill, and then look at Teddy onto the backline. He is left isolated to the demise of Wonder, while Caps walks away with barely any HP.
And Teddy tried to be a hero in the backline, but the focus of Wonder and Perks on the dive-bombing Kai'Sa has been extremely good. And this was really tense. If Faker ends up getting stunned there, the game does actually end because of the exposed bottom and hit. But now, one man with Baron. Can SKT make this one count?
Wonder actually failed his flash in that final E. If he had stunned Faker, you're right, that could have been all 5 Barons gone. But because of that failed execution, Faker's able to walk away. He found a bunch of kills, and now we're kind of looking at him at being the primary damage dealer. Of course, Kai'Sa's not irrelevant in this game, but I feel the Renekton is just a meat shield at this point.
And you have to look at it. If they had a few more Barons up, they could split the map like they want to, with the power of the Renekton, with the power of this Rise, but with Faker being the only one to hold the Baron buff, SKT will want to group if they need to use that buff. They can put him on a side lane.
And obviously anything can happen, but I still feel like Effort is playing a very inconsistent game. He whiffed his ultimate in that last fight, and it is still G2, who seems so much more well-coordinated than SKT. SKT need to pull it together because the next fight can be the game.
Hex Flash coming in. They're just looking to break the base. They managed to land the stun on the Effort. He instantly gets half health. The Camille now goes in. The support is gone. Khan is onto the backside. Eyes on Caps. Eyes on Perks. The damage sources, but they're threatening. And Teddy is left in, and Caps just gets deleted, but Perks is untouched. It's a trade of carries. Perks, he gets it! He's still alive. Khan wants it, but Teddy, it's not going to be enough. Perks continues to step forward. He has the E up and available. Teddy has to run for the hills, but G2 do not need to commit for the fight. Teddy can make the play, but it's not worth the risk.
If Teddy dies, this is the game over for SKT. He is the last bastion for SKT to hold the line against G2, and he will survive.
There's still minions coming in mid. How much does G2 want to go for this? It's hard for Teddy to clear the minions.
Thunder steps forward. Big damage. One more feather. Teddy running for his life. No flash, no heal, no ult, but once it has to back off cooldown, if he lands the Void Seeker into the ult, they can turn this around. Teddy can turn this. Teddy can turn this, but no! He gets taken out! And just like that, in an instant, the series is defined as G2 move to match point.
Without a single Baron buff, G2 is within a game of going to the World Finals.
This series has been incredible, but we have to bring attention to some of the things that we saw from SKT. Chat, you've been talking about it throughout this game. The coordination, the alignment just seems to be off. And even though G2 were down in levels, down in items on some of their major carries, they were playing with pressure as a team. And SKT never felt like that they could break into the base or siege control. And it feels like this difference in teamwork is largely the separating factor in this series.
Draco's asked us after the draft, who has the better team comp? We thought it was SKT.
Both of us said SKT.
I think they did have the better team comp.
Yes.
They had 2 Mountain Drakes. They had the Baron. They
Yes.
had the advantages. They did not have the teamwork of G2, and that's the thing that pulled it together. They just kept picking effort over and over again. 1-6 on Leona in that game, and the clutch play that G2 needed to pull out to be up in this series is incredible.
And we look back at that last team fight, Perks and Teddy, opposite sides of the fight, both doing all the damage they can possibly do. But at the end of the day, Perks found the kills, and Teddy could not kill enough members to stop this push from going through. And if that ult had been up, and if he could leap in and push a single Q, massive damage spell, he might have been able to kill all 3, but he could not make it happen when it mattered most. One thing, and then we gotta go to desk.
Perks was
sorry, I took your time.
9-0-4 at the end of that game. And when you consider we didn't mention his name once, the fact...
G2 pushing into Fog of War, have to be very, very careful.
Oh,
This
they
protocol
found
will connect.
But SKT didn't want to be found.
They're splitting up. Teddy on the backside, of course, has the ultimate, can leap at a moment's notice wherever he needs to go in the fight.
Look at the map state. Bot lane is pushing in favor of G2, but it will slowly push back towards SKT. They have a slow push building up. Top wave is actually pushing in favor of SKT, while G2 have mid priority. given the positioning of SKT right now, G2's going to make a beeline towards Baron to clear out some of the vision. But look at all these deep wards that are sitting behind. The opportunity for a TP flank from the side of SKT is very real, and they could look for it right now.
They may just have to be willing to commit that TP because Faker is not anywhere near the team quite yet. He is running down mid lane as fast as he can, hoping to get in. Good damage coming in from Teddy, though. G2 may just be fishing for the pick.
Someone needs to answer top lane.
SKT looks so out of sync right now, but Khan is set up, and they're trying to find some semblance of order here.
It's a split call. They have vision on the top side, but they don't want Khan to push up by himself. They
Wonder
want to be
has
ready for the
teleport.
fight.
They could just send him, but they're actually sending him bot. They want to be able to threaten the inhibitor. And this means SKT should just go straight to Baron.
And it forces SKT into doing Baron, which Perks, or rather the rest of G2 would likely be happy with based on what happened last time. SKT wasn't willing to 50-50.
They fight the full 5v5. The combat sums of G2 will be in their favor. Big shockwave set up. They put themselves in the pit. That could be everything. Faker, it will be the guaranteed knockup. Caps moving in, looking for the perfect shockwave. The Baron will go down, but can G2 find the fight? Caps instantly taken out. The cleanse will not be enough. No, Caps alive on the backside, doing what he can. A sliver of life left, yet still keeping his team alive. And Faker and Khan are on the retreat as G2 push in. The hook shot, the wall dive. They will manage to make it out. Khan trying to delete Wonder. They're going to get one back. It's such a close fight. Faker is fearless. He will make the slow retreat, the last man standing with the Baron buff for SKT.
SKT may walk away with the Baron, but they lose 4 members to get it. Only Faker holds on to the buff in what was an incredibly tense fight.
And if Faker dies, the game can still end. The death timers were low enough there, so holy crap. We got to recoup what just happened because the game is still even after that.
And G2 have not gotten a Baron yet this series. SKT have been flawless in that objective control, but they keep winning fights, and at the end of the day, that's what matters most in this game.
So we get to see the fight play out. Wonder doesn't bother split pushing because he realizes how quickly this is going down. And what a flash from Faker to avoid that lockdown. If he had been rooted, he would have died. Instead, Caps uses his ultimate into the pit, secures an initial kill, and then look at Teddy onto the backline. He is left isolated to the demise of Wonder while Caps walks away with barely any HP.
And Teddy tried to be a hero in the backline, but the focus of Wonder and Perks on the dive bombing Kai'Sa has been extremely good. And this was really tense. If Faker ends up getting stunned there, the game does actually end because of the exposed bottom hit. But now, one man with Baron. Can SKT make this one count?
Wonder actually failed his flash in that final E. If he had stunned Faker, you're right, that could have been all 5 Barons gone. But because of that failed execution, Faker's able to walk away. He found a bunch of kills, and now we're kind of looking at him at being the primary damage dealer. Of course, Kai'Sa's not irrelevant in this game, but I feel the Renekton is just a meat shield at this point.
And you have to look at it. If they had a few more Barons up, they could split the map like they want to, with the power of the Renekton, with the power of this Rise, but with Faker being the only one to hold the Baron buff, SKT will want to group if they need to use that buff. They can put him on a side lane.
And obviously anything can happen, but I still feel like Effort is playing a very inconsistent game. He whiffed his ultimate in that last fight, and it is still G2, who seems so much more well-coordinated than SKT. SKT need to pull it together because the next fight can be the game.
Hex Flash coming in. They're just looking to break the base. They managed to land the stun on the Effort. He instantly gets half health. The Camille now goes in. The support is gone. Khan is onto the backside. Eyes on Caps. Eyes on Perks. The damage sources, but they're threatening. And Teddy is left in, and Caps just gets deleted, but Perks is untouched. It's a trade of carries. Perks, he gets it! He's still alive. Khan wants it, but Teddy, it's not going to be enough. Perks continues to step forward. He has the E up and available. Teddy has to run for the hills, but G2 do not need to commit for the fight. Teddy can make the play, but it's not worth the risk.
If Teddy dies, this is the game over for SKT. He is the last bastion for SKT to hold the line against G2, and he will survive.
There's still minions coming in mid. How much does G2 want to go for this? It's hard for Teddy to clear the minions.
Wonder steps forward. Big damage! One more feather. Teddy running for his life. No flash, no heal, no ult, but once that has to back off cooldown, if he lands the Void Seeker into the ult, they can turn this around. Teddy can turn this. Teddy can turn this, but no! He gets taken out! And just like that, in an instant, the series is defined as G2 move to match point.
Without a single Baron buff, G2 is within a game of going to the World Finals.
This series has been incredible, but we have to bring attention to some of the things that we saw from SKT. Chat, you've been talking about it throughout this game. The coordination, the alignment just seems to be off. And even though G2 were down in levels, down in items on some of their major carries, they were playing with pressure as a team. And SKT never felt like that they could break into the base or siege control, and it feels like this difference in teamwork is largely the separating factor in this series.
Dracos asked us after the draft, who has the better team comp? We thought it was SKT.
Both of us said SKT.
I think they did have the better team comp.
Yeah.
They had 2 Mountain Drakes. They had the Baron. They
Yes.
had the advantages. They did not have the teamwork of G2, and that's the thing that pulled it together. They just kept picking effort over and over again. 1-6 on Leona in that game, and the clutch play that G2 needed to pull out to be up in this series is incredible.
And we look back at that last team fight, Perkz and Teddy, opposite sides of the fight, both doing all the damage they can possibly do. But at the end of the day, Perkz found the kills, and Teddy could not kill enough members to stop this push from going through. And if that ult had been up, and if he could leap in and push a single Q, massive damage spell, he might have been able to kill all 3, but he could not make it happen when it mattered most. One thing, and then we gotta go to desk.
Perkz was
sorry, I took your time.
9-0-4 at the end of that game. And when you consider we didn't mention his name once, the fact that he was able to pull off a scoreline like that just showcases how strong the teamwork was for G2 Esports.
More evidence to the best Xayah in the world argument. G2 Esports are 1 win away from punching their tickets to Paris. See if SKT can reply when we return. Jankos wants to be.
Welcome back to Game 4 of SKT versus G2 Esports. You're getting a look inside the coach's room for G2 as they pick up their 2nd victory of this best-of-5. Carlos, Ocelot, very pumped on that
Coaches
one.
and owners.
Coaches and owners, exactly. Let's be honest, though. I think SKT is going to be kicking themselves a little bit for that loss because as we heard the casters talking, they felt they had the better team comp. Based on the way the game went in the very early stages, they were set up for a victory, and it all fell apart.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think behind the scene right now, these players are getting, you know, a pretty rough talk, you know, from their coach. And I think them also seeing how they throw away early leads to actually very easy ganks from Jankos. And then they try and go into late game team fighting, and that also fails. We had a discussion before the series started about 80 carries. Teddy is great in late game team fights, but Perkz is at that level too, and he showed that in this game.
Yeah, taking a look at these team compositions, Kobe, dive in for me.
I mean, we're talking about the early leads, right? Yeah. It is Khan on the top side. Renekton solo killing the Camille that early on changes the whole dynamic of this game because they're talking about Champs Lake where the first pick Rise here for SK Telecom over the Orianna gives them that mid lane possibility to roam that we were talking about early. This is one of those matchups where it's not an even playing field for Caps, and people are starting to be like, why isn't Caps getting around and affecting the rest of the lanes? It's because of the matchup. Here's a look, though, of everything changing. This was Camille using both shield and E stun early before the tower, plus then he gives Khan a way out to get out from under the tower. Then it's the repeat gank here from the Rek'Sai, and this just snowballs so heavily until, Raz, there's a follow-up.
This is the most painful part about it, because if you draft the Elise and Camille, you are really putting in a lot of draft bucks, I assume, that the Camille will be able to carry out.
Yo, look at the minimap right now. Your entire team is playing bot side. How are you overextending as a world-class top laner and throw away your lead? Wunder and Jankos gets back in this game. They had no business getting back in this.
It's insane, because when the Renekton has that lead into the Camille at that stage of the game, Camille's useless. She has to actually roam consistently like we saw in that replay to be able to get herself back into the game. And by that point, Renekton will be able to join the team fights, be far more impactful, but we never got to that point because of that cost.
It's a bit of a twofer. While both junglers are doing massive amounts of work to help their laners get ahead, we did see Khan with a little disrespect hand some of that lead back. But I want to now direct the discussion down to the mid lane, because we prefaced this whole series by saying expect these two guys to get out into the side lanes and affect the map. Game 1, we saw a bit of it, and it went the way of G2. Games 2 and 3, though, things start to go towards the mid lane instead.
Exactly, like supports are roaming to the mid lane, junglers are playing around the mid lane. Heck, we even have the top laner roaming down in the replay we just showed. I think game 2, we had, of course, Lee Sin, LeBlanc from SKT kind of taking over, making it hard for Caps to have the same impact that he normally likes to have. And then he went for Orianna in this game. He didn't want to opt into a pick that wants to leave lane. So we've gotten a little bit of a slower early game from G2 around the mid than we expected. I thought we were going to see more roaming caps, and that's one of the reasons SKT are getting some of the early leads.
That's why when I saw the Orianna get locked in, you realize that's the adaptation in the series, because you get to see this a lot in the LPL where it comes down to, yeah, you want your mid laner to roam consistently, but the fact is when the support's being able to be there and stop you, the only resolution to this is adding more members to secure the lane and then the pathway. And so it feels like so much of this series has been, okay, we're just locking these mid laners down, or at least trying our hardest
and
to
it gets some
them up.
scaling in there.
There we go.
Hey, these games have been going much later than yesterday's did, and so it puts more importance on that ability to team fight in the late game. There is a big piece of news, though, coming out of the SKT camp with no games to give, rather. Effort will be subbed out, and Mata is coming back in. So talk to me about this move.
I mean, honestly, if you're looking at the last game and you see Effort's gameplay, especially in the Baron pit, there are just every skill shot missing, flashing at the wrong time, tanking extra damage. It's not that surprising.
Yes, it's the pressure that can get to you. That's why bringing in a veteran status player who can come in, slot in instantly, and then just come in playing his game. Like, Effort has been doing so well as this season has gone on because of the mechanics that he's been able to provide for this lane, but obviously it hasn't been panning out. I think the pressure's got to it.
Final point?
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight that they're not doing this because Mata is a better player.
Yes.
They're doing it because now you are backs against the wall, you're under pressure, and he clearly could not handle it in that last game because, so we highlighted, everything missed left and right.
Using every page in the SKT playbook to keep this best-of-5 series
It's
alive.
not going to work.
You don't think it's going to work?
This is not the
we're going to a
solution.
3-1 G2 victory. That does it from us here. We're going to send it back over to Dracos, Jat, and Vedius for Game 4.
And I'm honestly just at a loss for words. Mata coming in, this is an insane series. I want to see what's going to change here, but inevitably, as we get closer and closer to picks and bans, even past Mata, is Renekton still the #1 priority? How much is going to change? Do SKT risk it again? Is Ryze still the end-all, be-all in the draft?
Well, what we can say is, what we know for certain is that G2 will be on blue side. They will have first pick once again. In Game 2, they first picked the Ryze, and then they did early priority on both the Ornn and the Ezreal, which I believe was a mistake on their part, because they immediately hamstring themselves in terms of their draft. They will likely reflect and adapt to that. The question is, how do they deal with this introduction of Mata to the roster?
I think G2 should be infused with confidence, the fact that Mata is coming in. Because Mata was 6-10 in the summer split for SKT. Effort is the player who came in and helped in SKT's resurgence, and I think at really 5 minutes into that Game 3, we started making comments about Effort. He looks off, he looks spooked, he looks, maybe a little mentally broken, and by the end of that game, I don't fault SKT for doing this, but it kind of goes to show you how meaningful that Game 3 comeback was for G2 and how that might be the straw that breaks the back of SKT.
And ultimately, I think it's hard to know exactly what Mata's going to be doing here, because we saw him, and it wasn't great. It wasn't an abysmal performance. Does he go back to the Thresh? Is he going to play his skin again? A lot of simple questions, and the harder question is, what changes for SKT? Do we see that coordination that we saw in the past?
So the thing about Mata coming in is something that Jack talked a lot about earlier on, was the number of games that have been played across the board. Mata has 48 Worlds games. The experience, the pressure that is being put onto the stage right now in a European crowd as well is what SKT is hoping to get from Mata.
And experience matters. When we were prepping for this series, we kind of brought up the old Rocks versus SKT semifinal from 2016 of could this series live up to that semifinal? A big part of that semifinal was Bengi being subbed back in and going 3-0 in that series. He was not the better jungler on that team, but he was the better jungler on the day. If this is to work, it would be a similar type story for SKT and Mata, a player who's basically been counted out, getting his chance to try and save SKT's season.
And now the Ryze has been taken away. One of the biggest factors in the draft so far, the priority first pick, even above the Renekton. Both those champions now removed. Game 4 will be different.
Qiyana's open. Qiyana is right now the primary first pick. SKT remember Yanko says Qiyana from the group stage and think, is he really that scary? But, of course, the flexibility of the champion, it could have just been a bad day for Yankos. A number of factors. Do SKT take the gamble?
I think we see a Zyban, and I think we see a first pick Qiyana. I think SKT had success when Perks wasn't on Xayah Kaisa. That's what he's been thriving on. He wasn't that great on Israel. And you would still expect the Kiana. They're hovering other picks right now. Wow.
The Gragas.
Okay.
Priority for Jankos for the first time in the series.
Wow, okay. So now do SKT answer with the counter? They have to, surely. This champion is very strong in the current meta.
It's OP. If you can play it at the highest level, it's OP. It's
yeah.
just G2 said that they're not willing to try.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, we'll have to see what things pan out for the side of SKT. They can also grab, well, they shouldn't grab the jungle. They should actually grab a strong bot side of the map if they want to. Yasuo is still up and available. Of course, you'd be pretty infused with AD damage by grabbing it, but you have a lot of flexibility. But they kind of need to deny it because otherwise G2 is just going to grab it for themselves.
And now the question is, all of those Yasuo counter picks that Faker has been playing in solo queue, all the games he's played against Genax, going 1v1 in the mid lane, is this where we finally see it? Are they willing to go toe-to-toe with the Yasuo, try to match that pick, see what they can do? Because it is now the Varus for Teddy on the bottom side. To compare with the Tahm Kench, they've got time to find something optimal. Nautilus is still up and available.
It has to be Yasuo. Surely it's the Yasuo.
I mean, it's really good in Varus. So much of his damage is skill shot dependent.
We're just waiting in bated breath for those watching home. It's like, it has to be the Yasuo. Okay, so what G2 now don't want to do is reveal where this is going. So I'm now thinking about what are the potential flex picks because they consider. They could, of course, just lock in the Elise and guarantee that the Gragas is on support. But Syndra would actually be the... Syndra would be the best blind because you can also put this anywhere.
The double flex for G2, the special. Will we see the Perks with the Syndra in hands? Mages have not been successful in the bot lane. This could be a game that tells us a different story. Could also be the Yasuo, but one thing is certain. There will not be an traditional AD carry on the side of G2. And the Tahm Kench from SK Telecom T1 would make a lot of sense, but it looks like instead it will be the Nautilus, willing to pick the more aggressive option for Mata.
Yeah, I can potentially see not going Kench against Gragas, but it is very aggressive and will make it very hard for Teddy to stay alive in this game. Oftentimes, it feels like Varus Kench are a little bit joined at the hip because of the low mobility in the mid and late game.
Fans now coming through for SKT. You would imagine they want to... Well, junglers is likely what you would ban away. Oh, but they're actually thinking that this is still, right now, the Gragas in the jungle. They're playing...
Yeah.
And they want to try and limit the number of support options, but my guess is... So the only reason why
I don't care if you're wrong. We're both going to be
the
wrong.
only reason why I could see SKT banning away the supports is because they have something prepared for Syndra mid. So they're saying, okay, if you're going to lock in Syndra, we have a counter pick for Syndra mid, which means we're going to force you into it bot, which means you can't put the Gragas support.
Venius, Predator Rumble.
No.
But also,
why not?
I just don't think G2 play it. I don't think they play
SKT will play it. They have Kiana. It's the Rumble Kiana.
There have been questions about which teams have been scrimming which teams. Is it a possibility?
You're right. It could be Predator Rumble.
I mean, Faker interviews from the past said he could play every single champion in the game at a competitive level. It's a few years outdated, that statement. He might not believe it anymore, but it's time to find out. Last time G2 did ban both champions that were perceived as Kled counters. We don't know if SK Telecom T1 will give it to Khan. But that could be the setup that we're in once again, but it said it will be the LeBlanc banned away.
If they're going to do the Predator Rumble, it doesn't have to be here. But they do have to start saying what their solo laners would be. Renekton banned, so Khan will be on something new this game. And his champion pool beyond Renekton has been the most varied so far this year. And this would mean, if they lock it, would mean a Kiana in a solo lane.
Yep.
Looks like that will be the case.
Okay, so it's Kiana mid, probably. That's the assumption I'm making right. Wow.
Instant lock-in. I think they might have been ready for that one, folks.
So they're just going for the safe top lane. The expectation was initially that it could have been a Kled based on the bans, but now SKT, do they want to go for a hard carry split push top laner? They could lock in the Fiora for themselves if they wanted to.
Ooh, instead.
Just AP damage.
Oh, I'm quite a fan of this as well.
They need
Great
magic
team
damage.
fighting. Like you have Vlad, you have Kiana, you have Nautilus, Varus, like you have the early game transition with the Elise as well. The only other thing they could do is flex the Vladimir into mid lane, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Maybe it's just the stakes of these series, but I'm just fascinated by these drafts. It's champions we've seen before, but the order in which they're getting picked and how much time G2 and SKT are taking to plot out every single move here. The fact that G2 didn't want this game to be about their ability to play Qiyana, but instead was actually, no, you take the Qiyana because we are putting a higher priority on getting Gragas Yasuo for ourselves. They again bring back the flex picks. They have that Perks Mickey Yasuo Gragas lane. I just can't wait for this.
And this is going to be an explosive early game because the pairing of Elise Qiyana is simple, straightforward, point-and-click gank setup. But Syndra should have priority in the mid lane. The Olaf, what can Jankos do to stop Clid from getting anything done? And what does Mata look like in match point for G2? Can he show up when it matters most?
Well, I think Mata will be one of the most important aspects in this early game. Remember that every game G2 have played against a Yasuo Gragas, they've tried to set up a dive. You could not ask for a better dive comp than what you are getting from the side of SKT. The Elise, the potential Vlad TP, I'd be surprised if they used it early, but with a Qiyana with her CC setup as well, SKT should be looking to attack that bot lane early.
The biggest question will be whether or not Faker can get out of lane.
Yes.
Because the Syndra early should have the range advantage and the push advantage on the Qiyana.
And if push comes to shove, is Faker willing to sacrifice his own lane, willing to give up CS to make a play that's outside of the textbook, to go do something crazy? Can SKT find that clutch engage that we've seen from Qiyana's at so many different moments? The Varus, the Qiyana, the Vladimir together can delete a team in an instant. But it all comes down then to setup.
Yeah, we're in it. This is match point for G2. This is either G2 crushing through two Korean powerhouses on their way to meet FPX in the final, or it's Mata coming back after Effort, his replacement, has a bad game and rescuing SKT's season. I can't wait.
And when you look at it, it is the best player of all time on the most accomplished organization in League of Legends history, toe-to-toe with the best team that Europe has ever produced and may ever produce. This is a first, the first truly successful European super team.
And yes, a European team was in finals last year, but the expectations set before G2 were so much higher this year. For them to show up in this way, be 2-1 up on SKT, ready to take that spot in the final, is incredible.
This is it, boys.
And a bit of a delay, of course, getting into game.
Oh, you two are so inspirational.
Right,
we were just I was captivated by you.
Do we want to? As long as we got a little. Oh, well, hold on. Looks like we made it in.
Just a long loading screen for some reason.
There you go.
All right, back into the
even the client was like, oh, this guy's
was like, I need a breather.
I need to take a break there.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be jumping onto Summoner's Rift for Game 4. SKT are nowhere near down and out. Jack, we talked at length about how SKT should have won that last game. Execution in the final team fight alone could have swung the game back in SKT's favor, and you should not count them out just because they did not win.
And the operative word there is should. And it's a word that, as a fan and as an analyst, I constantly struggle with.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the team that won is the team that should have won. If you base it down to its most basic level, there are mistakes that SKT made, but their team play fell apart.
You're right.
Down the stretch in that game.
And I mean, individuals made a number of mistakes. Teddy's ultimate in the fights, we talked at length about effort, and even Faker, his positioning on the map.
Yeah, because I don't disagree with you. There were so many things that SKT should have done to win that game, but since they didn't do them, that's why we're here. That's why SKT is facing elimination against the LEC powerhouse in G2.
As we see G2 potentially group for late invade, one stat that further kind of colors this series. Sweeper coming out from Vicky. Hold that thought. Let's see a level 1 fight. SKT willing to match it. Of course, is Hail of Blades Yasuo much stronger at level 1 than, say, the Conqueror?
So, this is very important because G2, let's not forget, when they first played against the Yasuo bot lane in Game 2, they tried to make this invade happen. The mistake they made was disrespecting SKT's early vision. They got caught, they got collapsed, it hurt their whole game plan. Now, the thing about Olaf is he is incredibly fast, clearing through the jungle. I'm curious as to how Clid answers. I like what he's doing. He should be looking to split the map himself, and he's going straight towards the blue buff. But this gives the Yasuo bot lane a lot of freedom, so that he does not have to run the risk of getting ganked in the early game.
And it's great. You can vertical your Yasuo Gragas so they can play as aggressively as possible. It's the reverse of having to eat a 15 or 20 CS advantage early. They can actually push in fairly freely and trade aggressively.
And that's what you're seeing now. Perk's not going to be a part of the trades, but Mickey feeling pretty comfortable so far. Teddy always has the respected potential for a tornado. We'll manage to connect there.
Look at the state of the wave right now. With the health difference, oh, they're actually
going in. Teddy has to flash out to safety instantly. Halo Blade's doing so much work. Mickey now stepping forward. The Ignite goes down. Perks, the heal isn't enough. Yanko's coming over the wall. The Axe! First blood for G2.
And the G2 bottom lane show SKT how it is done. They know where the enemy jungler is. They have all the information in the world. They burn all of the summoner spells from Teddy, and Perks shuts down Teddy.
Massive start for G2. They attack Mata in his first game of the semifinals this Worlds. They know exactly where to go. They know exactly how to do it, and they get it done.
Look at top lane though. Clid is in the top side of the map. Wonder is overextended.
But it's a level 3 Vladimir. It's fine. He can just be up there.
I mean, you're right.
And additionally, it doesn't get any easier because Wonder can just opt for the Abyssal Mask early on. They're both magic damage. But as we look back at this one, you can see Hail of Blades allowing Perks to get out multiple Qs so rapidly. Goes back, Tornado confirmed, easy to land. The heal buys him time, but Flash Axe.
I don't think G2 actually expected to get a kill there. I think they wanted to force an all-in just to get a bunch of summoner spells and set it for a dive a little bit later on. But the moment Mickey saw the window where Mata actually engaged onto Perks, he could jump on top of Teddy and actually burst him out, giving G2 the ability to find that first blood.
Something I want to put on both your guys' minds is, one, when G2 have won game 1 in a series, it has never gone to game 5. They've always won in 4 or less. It's a lot of 3-0s, a lot of confident wins. Additionally, what we've seen from G2 very often in the final games of their series is that they download their opponent and they obliterate them. Now this is one kill, but the question I want you to keep in mind as we get further, if G2 start to pull further and further ahead, is this something that we can just say is G2's specialty, is blowing people out in these final games?
I think that's going to be a question. We've also not seen a game 5 in the whole knockout stage. Game 4 has ended up being the decider, and G2 also seems to be this team that is impervious to SKT's aura that they used to hold in these best-of-5 series. G2 are the ones to hand SKT SKT's only best-of-5 defeat all year. That was at the MSI semifinal, and here they'd look to do it again.
Oh,
great win wall.
The reaction speed from Perks. That was an Umayan play if I've ever seen one, as he's able to mitigate the gank come down from SKT. They're forced to back off, and you can see how the wave is just in an awkward spot for Teddy.
Wonder doing what he can on the top side. Still trading back well with Khan. Khan can obviously provide a decent amount of wave pressure, but not a whole lot of kill threat up against the Ornn, who just rushed the Negatron.
And the 5-minute Ocean. It couldn't get any better for G2 right here, as Jankos is ready to do that with the bot priority. And the full river control.
2 waves up on a Yasuo Gragas lane against an enemy AD carry. The TP is going to come through from Syndra.
They want a match.
That's going to be big. Jankos is just going to get one shot. Perfect punish for Cliff. Caps now moving in on the... Faker moving in on the Caps, rather. Khan TP's down. This is a big turn for SKT. They will not just be run over. They will match G2 for the Drake, and they will take the Ocean for themselves.
Excellent punish coming out from Clid. He knows what Jankos is up to. He's seen these Olaf plays before, and he recognizes, wait a minute, Perks and Mickey actually haven't left the lane yet. Syndra is back in base. We get to move first, so they do. The only problem for SKT is Khan TP'd into that play. He got nothing for it. Meanwhile, the Ornn set up a bit of a freeze in the top lane, and he's just going to get all this free farm, while Khan is left to get nothing.
That's still the type of play that we've seen time and time again in this series, where just as we're starting to have the discussion about this early game advantage potentially leading to a snowball, we see the counter. Clid with exactly the right timing, as Vedius mentioned, punishing it. And I think as far as a Vladimir using a teleport into the Ornn matchup, Ornn's not the type to punish that. So just an amazing thing for SKT just happened.
And I think it's important to remember, while this bot lane play has gone great for G2, I'm looking at how the rest of the game plays out. And of course, you're looking at Ornn ultimate to a Yasuo ultimate, and you're like, okay, G2's team fighting comp is pretty solid. Yep. But Vladimir Kiana is no slouch either. If you fight around Baron, or if you fight in the right place, there is a very easy opportunity for you to be able to win out on these team fights. The big thing you have to play around is the win wall, because the win wall can interrupt things like the Kiana ultimate, can mitigate a lot of the damage that comes out from the side of SKT, and these late game fights will be very execution reliant.
See Perks pulling back, and I think the thing that G2 are going to have to respect is Faker on this Kiana. He has the Moby Boots. This champion moves across the map like wind. She is so incredibly fast. They have to see what Faker gets done. For now, he's locked into mid lane by caps by the constant pushing threat of this Syndra. But if he gets out, if we see those clutch Kiana ultimates that have been there all across the tournament, the reason this champion is banned so much, SKT have an easy route back into the game.
Where can he move with those Moby Boots? Will be the big question.
Mickey.
As that's the second time Mickey's just kind of very narrowly avoided death with a well-timed body slam.
I like that SKT is sending their jungler bot to provide cover for Teddy and Mata so they can push out this wave. I think that they might be looking for a reset now that their summoner spells are back up.
They can step forward here, but Teddy and Mata really aren't in range. Just a bit of poke down onto Mickey.
Oh, they're actually threatening a dive. I like this a lot more. We talked about how strong this dive comp actually is. No TP on Khan, but no TP on Wonder either. So SKT just going to take some plates for now.
Faker got spotted both times on that control ward, which is a big boon for G2 to be able to step back up. They don't have deep enough vision into the G2 jungle. I love that control ward right next to G2's red buff.
Now with Perks at level 6. Power dynamic might shift a little bit here on the bottom lane. Teddy and Mata have the safety of range with a few more levels under their belt, but Yasuo ult, the threat and the follow-up as Mickey gets closer to 6 as well means they're going to have to make sure not to get caught out by the exhaust Yasuo. And once again, a very tense game. It felt like G2 were pulling ahead. A beautiful response from Clid on that dragon. And now we are into an even game state. A few plates even going in the favor of Teddy to make sure that he can sit more comfortably in this lane.
Remember that G2, their comp is not about snowballing early. Yasuo is very item reliant. Ooh, good flash from Teddy.
Comes out. While stopping follow-up. Mata now has to retreat, but Spider knocks his way back to the tower.
And that Jankos just recognizing the wave is pushing bot. He can come in for a play. With the knockup onto Teddy, they might have been able to find a kill, but as we mentioned, good flash from him. Now Jankos going to face check. Or not. Wow. Good use of the axes there.
And a level 6 Olaf is relatively scary to jump on if you don't get the clean one-shot, since he can just void the CC and then return fire.
Looks like G2 is just setting up for the Drake for now. They've kind of left top lane on an island. Both TP. Oh, wow. So Wonder had Ignite, and I thought that he may overcommit. He may actually go for an all-in there, but decided against it. He does, of course, have the ultimate, and look at the roam from Faker. He has his eyes set on top. Wonder going for the all-in.
He thinks he has the all-in. He needs to go in on Khan. If he's going to kill him, he needs to kill him now. Khan flashes back to safety. Faker not going to connect on the ultimate. That's massive. Still, though, the Ignite's ticking down. Wonder will drop, but that could have been everything.
Actually a bit of a misplay by Faker there, which is odd to say. You should always start that gank with an EQ because it'll auto-acquire the Water Blade. So Faker shouldn't have a chance to miss the ultimate, but still gets the kill with the Ignite, and that's a big play, being able to find a roam.
A lot of trading in terms of summoner spells up towards the top lane, and ultimately Khan does get away with this one. But you could see, with the Ignite available on Wonder and knowing that the pool has a very long cooldown, he wants to try and force this play. Wonder recognizes that even if he flashes after Khan, he's probably not going to be able to chase him down. So he tries to get away from Faker, but he's not able to do it. And as you mentioned, Jack, while there was a slight mis-execution from the side of Faker, he still ultimately gets what he wants.
Teddy, ultimate could come out. Mata continuing to step forward. G2 have to feel like they might have sniffed this one out, though, with how forward Mata and Teddy are playing.
Even with sniffing it out, though, SKT need to be able to get this wave into the turret if they don't want to get denied, because I think they'd still lose a 3v3. They definitely lose a 4v3, so really good timing on G2's roam here.
You don't have vision, is at least still in the brush. That's going to be the ulti now coming out. The wind wall can't immediately follow. The Perks might just get bodied down. The ultimate coming up the bars is huge. Teddy is not going down quite yet, but they're going to be able to grab the kill on the back of the Olaf. Khan in the midst of the entire team will just be forced to retreat. Faker now coming down. The Kiana's now coming in. G2 are now locked down under the tower. Where's the Kiana going to go? Dashing in, that's going to be one. Invisible with the grass blade. Can pick up another one to go through. Faker cleaning up this fight as Khan runs forward. Tides of blood will not be necessary. Captain Wonder forced to back off.
Excellent answer from SKT. Clid does not crack under the pressure and just lies in wait. The moment that Teddy gets ultimate, that is when SKT strike. With a big teamfight win, they can convert this into a Drake and claim control over the gold lead.
And Mata as well, still deathless despite the relentless assaults of G2 on this bottom lane. While SKT wasn't there at the start of the fight, they were definitely there at the end of it. And the 2-0-1 Kiana. How many times have we seen a few early kills on a Kiana just end a game? We'll have to see what Faker can do with this lead.
2K gold in his back pocket can complete his first lethality item as we look back at this replay.
And here we see again, Clid, recognizing all these people were coming, just waits. He turns his attention immediately to Perks, but the damage is already done. He's CC'd, he's locked up, and while that was a great flash knockup from Mickey, G2 is doing everything in their power to try and turn this in their favor, but the TP comes in from Khan. The roam comes down from Kiana. And this overcommitment here is ultimately what costs G2, because you can see Jankos gets dragged into the tower, Khan mitigates all of the damage, and that buys enough time for Faker to then arrive.
Beautiful grass blade after dashing in as well to make it so fire couldn't be returned. But during the replay, we saw Jankos get the Rift Herald, keeping the tempo up as fast as possible.
Faker, not a lot of resistances to his name. Has to respect the potential for him to get bursted by Caps, especially as now he'll back off and should be able to complete the looting shortly. Wonder and Khan have taken up home on the bottom side of the map, as the Yasuo Dragons will match top side for SKT. And in this game, SKT actually pulling ahead. About 600 in their favor, but the double Ocean as well is going to make a lot of their lives much easier if we stay in standard lanes.
And it also doesn't seem to matter who G2 is playing against. They will have more gold from minions than the other team. It was their best stat leading into the quarterfinals, and I think it is their best stat now. In terms of the ability for people to leave some of their lanes to create a larger denial somewhere else. In this particular game, it was the roams bottom and the vertical jungling that gave them most of their CS advantage, but across the board, Ornn, Syndra, and Yasuo all up on CS against SKT.
That's good. That's something that's going to buy them more as they get later into the game. Perks, though, has to respect, has to be careful. Can win wall a lot, but he can't win wall everything.
The player I'm looking at in this game a lot is Khan. I think that in the laning phase, yes, that could have been a bad trade, but of course Faker with a good roam up. And he is yet to die. Sure, he doesn't have a CS advantage against the Ornn, but this man actually sits on a 1,000 gold lead right now. The Kleptomancy has done him a lot of favors. He was involved in the plays down in the bot lane, contributing to a lot of SKT's early kills. And when we think about the team fight power of SKT, all of it is going to come from this Vladimir. He has so much damage later on into the game. He is the insurance, the follow-up from the crowd control that Faker's ultimate can provide. He is the man that will be able to win out on many of these 1v1s later into the game. So Khan, a player that we've talked about a lot this series, will be very important if SKT want to win.
Caps are trying to pull it back, but the lock is guaranteed. That means the follow-up is there, and down goes Caps. Clean kill pickup from the side of SKT.
It's a lot of crowd control that they're bringing. One thing that we didn't get to talk about was the fact that Caps didn't bring Cleanse in this matchup, so anytime they start with that type of CC chain, unless the rest of G2 is there to fight, Caps would die, and that's exactly what we see SK do there. Mata just, I think, Hex flashes in range for his ultimate, and the follow-up was pretty easy for SKT.
Certainly was.
Ulti comes out, call the Forge God. Who's it going to find? Perks, not gonna opt to follow up there. Just trying to bully out, just trying to threaten SKT. They got priority over the mid wave. What are they gonna do with it? Now moving up to top side, clearing out a little bit of this SKT vision, but G2 do not want to stay too long for a play here. They've fallen too far behind to overcommit for anything.
Well, it's still not the end of the world for G2. The scaling on their side is still very solid.
Also the fact that they're, one game away from the finals. I feel like that would mean it's not the end of the world.
That's also true.
Just in the context of the series, fine.
But it's still early on. Jat, we're 15 minutes in. This is probably the most convincing early game advantage I think we've seen one team have at 15 minutes.
Yep.
And a lot of it has come off of punish play on the side of SKT. Now, the gold gap, of course, is still only 1k, but as we mentioned, it's important to recognize where the gold is. A lot of it does sit on Khan, but for G2, a lot of their gold sits on top of Perks. A player who came up clutch in the last game, a player who did not die, who has earned the title of Umayan, which is now a thing. And
you want to explain it?
So, to give a small bit of context, as long as Faker doesn't try to pull in here, Perks randomly needed a name for his ult.
Hold that thought.
You're good.
Perks randomly needed a name for his ult. He randomly found Umayan, thought it was cool, and it stuck. And then he climbed up solo queue so quickly, he started making these jokes about how Umayan is coming to revolutionize AD carry, and it stuck with the fans. That's why when people say Perks deactivated, Umayan activated, they're talking about the version of Perks which just seems unstoppable.
LEC memes for dummies with Vedius. The game starts at level 1, Vedius. That's the important.
That is
no
the
more
key.
farming and waiting for late in the world of Umayan.
Yeah, and what we're seeing again actually is just SKT making a move for Ocean Drake and what looks to be G2 just trying to get lane pressure as much as possible. So this prioritization of CS and experience rather than a 17-minute Ocean Drake, which honestly isn't that beneficial for G2 one way or the other. It's really about how they've stayed in most of these games is through just good CS in the side. There's Faker.
Locked up, stunned down. That's a Kiana. That's what she does. Ignite is forced out. That's a little bit of a boom, but it costs the flash and the exhaust of Perks to get it.
So we've been talking a lot about Perks, but Faker is the player we need to bring everyone's attention back to, because as chat mentioned earlier on, this was a 2-0 Kiana that when you get those early items, you can be very potent. And
that's going to be big damage. They don't have a wind wall to stop it. Easy pick-off for the side of SKT.
And we're just seeing clean execution from SKT. The coordination that we didn't seem to see last game is now coming through, and this change from Mata may have been everything that they needed.
The flash hook almost connects so incredibly close. And to further quote Jack from earlier, as long as we're taking turns doing Jack quotes, Kiana's OP when she's playing well, and Kiana is being played damn well by Faker. Surprise, surprise.
And he's now roaming all over the map. He doesn't need to have a high amount of CS if he's getting gold from killing the opponents. And I do want to spend a moment to credit Mata. This is such an unlikely substitution. When he got subbed in Game 3 of the Splice series, the consensus between most of us was, oh, that's just the skin game. Like, in case they're just going to give him one because they're not worried about losing this series in case they actually make it all the way to the World Finals. What this is effort looked really bad in Game 3, and SKT needed a lifeline. And so far, even though it is other members of SKT, we don't know what goes on in the comms. Mata is the second most experienced player on this SKT lineup to Faker. So it is a huge presence that he brings to the game that I think SKT is benefiting from in this Game 4.
And if he wins here, this would be his 50th international win for Mata. And if he wins,
huge presence that he brings to the game that I think SKT is benefiting from in this Game 4.
And if he wins here, this would be his 50th in. He's repel from play, but Perks is there as well. Now Wonders move in. Vision game. Now might single-handedly redefine SKT's chances in this series. As G2 now move in. Mickey off to the side, trying to find the barrel. Forcing out the repel from play, but Perks is there as well. Now Wonders in the pinch. Caps is just getting cut down. The wind wall is not going to mean a thing. Tries to buy a bit more time. Here comes Faker on the backside, but he's caught up by the Olaf. Mickey now coming in. Faker trying to go in and finish it up, but the stopwatches are there. But no, SKT still able to find this fight. The knockup coming through. Jankos runs for the hills, but it is not enough. Still, it's a back and forth fight. It's such a close fight. Cap manages to sidestep. Click goes in, but the body slam comes out. Another stopwatch. Are you kidding me? The knockup is there. The shutdown is there. A bloody fight in the mid lane.
G2's ability to out-team fight SKT has been persistent throughout this series. There's probably about 15 really small interactions that happened in that fight that could have decided it, and G2 just had more of them.
That team fight was just a highlight reel condensed into 10 seconds. So many cool things happened that a single replay is not going to do it justice, but let's see what we can do. Mickey and Perks start off by coming in from the flank, and an immediate response from Clid avoids the initial engage.
I think the biggest thing, though, was Jankos v Faker. Faker couldn't find access to the flank, which would have just destroyed G2 against the wall with the Kiana ultimate. In fact, he basically wins the 1v1 against Faker down bottom.
But look at the ultimate that came out from Ornn on the top side. He completely cut Teddy and Clid off from the fight, meaning that this was actually a 4 versus 3 for the vast majority of the game. Clid then tries to dive on top of Caps, and it wasn't enough because Caps immediately flashes out, sidestepping the Q. Mickey nearly dies, the stopwatch just before he falls. Oh my word, what a team fight.
Yeah, that's a 10.
Yeah, it was...
okay.
And Mata dies! Yeah, you cursed him!
Yeah, Gragas ultimate into death.
Wait, could this be Baron now?
They're very
think
strong.
about it.
You talked about this earlier, Veddies, but the win wall from Yasuo is massive at taking the Baron, mitigates so much of the threat, so much of the damage. Might still want that cooldown in the fights to come, but oh, here comes the Oran Horn. They're caught in the pinch. Mickey X can go forward. Faker invisible, wants to pull another grass blade, but this is massive. Vladimir trying to strike back, but Faker's ult is not going to be effective. Khan now has to run for his life. Perks and Caps are still alive. G2 get 2-3 for nothing.
Faker missed his Kiana ultimate in the jungle. So Khan is the one who's able to pick up a fight, but G2 get another advantage.
And you can hear the crowd rallying behind G2. Yes, the early game was a little bit shaky. They found some advantages, they conceded some. But this team is momentum-based. When they hear the roar of it, you can just see them performing at their absolute peak. And Jack, you said it. They are consistently out team fighting SKT. When I saw them in that jungle, I thought, oh, Faker's just gonna kill them all.
What? Mickey?
It didn't come through. Mickey sidesteps, and now we reset once again. The gold is even once again.
Probably a blessing in disguise that didn't land for Mata, because Teddy and Mata were outnumbered if they would have gone into that jungle fight. But now, Faker back trying to push on mid wave and SKT group around this Mountain Drake.
Do G2 have enough active members on the map to contest this Drake? I don't think it's the case. Mata waiting in the darkness. Jankos knows better than to step in.
SKT still have no control over Baron. So it's going to be really difficult for them to face check their way into this.
But this is where Kiana and Vladimir are at their most powerful. If they sniff out the G2 Baron and go into contest, it could be a one-shot kind of team fight. One shotgun shot to delete all of G2. But if they mess up, if they mis-execute, the Ornn will tear through this team.
Yeah. Beautiful pool.
Good pool.
Keep in mind, Windwall can also block Kiana ultimate, so Faker has to watch out for that.
Yeah, it can.
Flash in, just trying to get the knockup, forcing the flash away from Mata. G2 just playing for cooldowns at this point, but it's Faker on the flank. They're all grouped near that wall. He might sniff out this juicy Kiana ultimate. Eyes on Faker in the backside. Faker being zoned away once again by Jankos, and the rest of the fight is breaking out. Faker is doing nothing. Perks is getting another kill. They're dashing through the shutdown. He's trying to find the kill, but he can't get it back. And this is disastrous. Jankos took Faker out of the fight, but still, SKT win the 4v4. Wonder has to now run for his life. The grass blade zoning Mickey X away. Wonder will get taken down. This should be the Baron for the side of SKT. Wonder trying to buy as much time as he can, but it is not enough. That is the shutdown. SKT Baron in their sights.
And SKT successfully out-teamfight G2. The execution was not on point this time. They have 4 members alive. Mata is about to respawn. Can they steal this away, or will they concede it?
I mean, there is an ultimate for Jankos if we wanted to try.
G2 have yet to get a Baron this entire series. Is this the one that will turn it? Is this their Baron to get? Jankos with ultimate available, won't get a chance. Delete it. Jankos next on the list. Caps TPing into his own death. SKT though, pulling back, giving him that respect. Clid now stepping forward. Wow. Caps manages to find the knockback. Wants to finish off at least one kill. Will get the ultimate down to do so. The heal is not enough. But here comes Faker. Goes golden, but just gets to watch his own death in slow motion. Khan on a rampage.
And now it's G2 crumbling. They didn't even try to steal the Baron. They just let themselves get killed by Khan as the rest of SKT secure that objective. But let's look back at this initial fight.
All right, I was locked on Faker down bottom, and he got zoned out by Olaf. So we're not focusing on that. We're going to focus on the Vladimir, getting all of the damage onto Caps. I don't think Caps' stopwatch was back yet from the previous fight, and then the turret shot is what actually follows Perks throughout the rest of the fight.
But also, Wonder did not use his ultimate onto Teddy. He used it onto the Nautilus. They overcommitted onto killing Mata, and that is not the target that you can afford to try and shut down.
And just, if we look at the game state moments ago, it was this is even, this is dead, even, but now it's a 4K advantage to the side of SKT. They've got the Baron to back them up as well. Perks moving in on the top side, another TP coming in. They're looking for a pick. Jankos is here too. Faker now retreating. Wonder stepping forward. This is a very fast Kiana. Caps on the way in. Faker should certainly go down here, but he's incredibly fast. The flash out, not enough. Caps sees it coming, uses the ult and takes him out.
Again, Faker not in sync with the rest of SKT. This is the 4th game. SKT have had a Baron, a potential Baron power play, and then been unable to get their setup.
Uncharacteristic performance from Faker. Jack, you and I both expected extremely large things with the return of Faker to the World Championship. We both put him as #1 in our top 20. We both expected him to perform, and this series against one of the best teams in the world, he has made mistakes. Yes, he's had some fantastic plays.
That's a big miss.
But it is the rest of SKT looking to fight.
Mickey potentially in trouble here.
I mean,
Caps coming in on the flank if he wants.
Khan is bottom.
Yeah.
Perks is split pushing. This is the type of thing that G2 has been perplexing SKT with. They're pressuring lanes that SKT doesn't expect them to pressure, so it's pushing them into odd decisions. This time, it looks like they've made a pretty good call to just continue pushing bottom lane, and now Khan resets, buys a pot. He's looking to try and find a massive team
He has a
fight.
death cap. He has a void staff. Khan is incredibly powerful. Not level 16 quite yet, but otherwise everything going in his favor. All the AP he could ever want on this Vladimir. SKT have the tools to win the fight. They just need to find one in their favor. For now, it is the name of the game is the Siege. Can G2 hold on? Only reliable way to clear is the Syndra. Perks can try to use the wind wall to buy a bit more time for mid lane tower.
Ornhorn is just back up now. Had been on cooldown.
Khan is using the double cannon minions bot lane to siege onto that tower. The brace is slowly being broken.
How about a third?
Yankos. Yeah, that was a pretty quick chunk. Khan still with the Crimson Rush up. They're going to force out the pool. Oh, the timing off. That's going to be disaster.
That's going to be another inhibitor tower going down.
Hook lands on a Wonder. Ulti's now going to come out. Khan still on the side. Khan still with ultimate up and available. Can't make his way into the back of this fight. Still, Mata goes forward. G2 is going to find one kill for now. The knockup not quite there. Perks going in the midst of the team. Desperately wants to kill Teddy, but it's not going to be enough. He's trying to dash through, but they're burning him down. In the meantime, the fight is going back and forth. Teddy, he's trying. This is his moment. He wants to get the kill. Getting it done. Teddy, he buys more time, but he cannot secure the win. Axe goes in. Yankos on the chase. When the combo's back up for Quid, he could look to turn and burn, but such a close exchange once again.
But G2 still win the fight. Perk is struggling to have an impact in this game, but Caps and Yankos are doing such a great job. This team fight ultimately becomes around whether or not they can shut Khan down, and initially, after missing that engage, it felt like that this could have been disaster for G2, but then the re-engage comes through.
Exactly, a very odd start with Mata dying, only getting an unfollowed up knockup on Caps, and really, it's on Khan here. Mickey zones him as best he can, Faker gets an execute, and then here you're thinking, all right, can he absolutely get it done? And the stun timing by the rest of G2 just kind of shut him down. This is, it can't keep happening, you think, that SKT have a large gold lead, have a Drake advantage, have Baron, and get beaten to the setup by G2.
Caps was so good in that fight. The way in which his Q, E, electrocute combo pretty much one-shot Faker. That Kiana got obliterated, and because Khan used his pull early to avoid the stun, that then allowed Caps to use his ultimate onto the Vladimir. So these fights are so intense. We talked about how they're so execution-based.
And what is going through the heads of SKT right now? Because they felt like they were in control of Game 3. They were in control of this Game 4. And if they lose this one, their year is over. Faker would fail to make his first final at a World Championship. They can't tilt against this G2 team who just looks completely untiltable. They have been so good at playing from the back foot. SKT will have an advantage, and immediately, rather than G2 waiting for something bad to happen, they make something good happen for themselves.
Those years of EUS solo queue coming into fruition against the powerhouse that is SKT. The Baron will be spawning in 30 seconds. This could be the fight, the objective, the place that determines the outcome of this series.
The upgraded Zhonya is now coming in for Caps. One more level for Wonder, and he will be able to upgrade Perks as well. Given the Molten
on his own.
Mata isolated. Mata caught out. Windwall comes in to stop, but he falls out. Mata knocked back into the wall, but here comes a massive Ornn follow-up. The support is dead, but now they can turn the fight. It's Khan on the flank. G2 need to get out of the pinch immediately, or they will go down. Mata's still alive. Mata is living through everything G2 have.
But SKT used the Varus and the Nautilus ultimate there, so it was just a 2-for-2 trade with the reset. The Baron setup continues.
The cooldown on Wonder's ultimate is at 45 seconds. That's going to be more than enough time for Mata to go back to base, reset, back out onto the map. He'll also be restocked on all of that vision. And the pings are coming down from Mata right now. He's saying, Ornn's ult is down, Ornn ult is down. Let's look for a fight because this is the best shot that we've got.
Caps at 50% mana should be fine for the fight to come, but Faker running forward. This is the movement speed of that Kiana. Can run fearlessly into the front line. Has to respect Caps, though. A single stun could result in the death.
Ornn upgrades also making G2 more powerful. 3,000 gold of value given just by Ornn being level 16.
Perks. Windwall comes out, but it's not going to stop the ultimate from going in. Perks has to flash out to safety. Mata hits the wall, not quite what he wants, but Khan steps forward. That's the ulti down. That's the ulti down. Now G2 can look to turn the fight. Khan, huge healing coming back. On the back end of that ultimate, Faker now steps forward. Faker now gets taken out. Faker, no! Faker that? Now the rest of the team stepping forward. G2 looking to close this fight out. Perks throwing the wind wall over. Tornado comes in, wind wall to block. Clid now taken down. This should be G2's first Baron of the series if they can find it. Clid deleted. Caps unstoppable. G2 on the cusp of making it to finals.
Faker dies in what was the most important team fight of this series. The Baron is in the eyes of G2. The smite is not available. G2 Esports come back once again. They will secure their first Baron of the series, and SKT is now on the back foot.
Comeback after comeback for G2, and again, Faker can't find what he needs. He flashes for it. The root node, the roof gets blocked. Yes, it's stunned, but the burst is decreased.
Yes.
And the Sterix also keep him alive. But then, on the backside, Khan was ready to follow up with a full engage. Now that they're down both ultimates, SKT have to run away, and G2, they got the Orn Horde. They're ready to go back for it. Faker is trapped. He's down flash. He tries to go invisible, but he can't get out.
Faker had no escape options. His flash was down. He wanted to re-engage, but his team was not there. And you could see the frustration. His hands are shaking. He realizes the consequences of his actions. And now it is G2 with the Baron buff. There is still a lot of SKT's base that they have to go through. By no means does this mean that the game is won. All it means is that the game goes back to even.
But it can be won with one good team fight. G2 have been the ones preventing SKT from converting their Baron power plays. Now they can convert their own. They have the Ornn, they have the Gragas, they have so many initiation tools, and SKT have just been out of sorts. They're throwing ultimates left, sideways, unable to connect on this beautiful team of G2, as now G2 try and make it to the finals.
Pressure mounting, Perks bringing in the minions in the mid lane. Faker waiting in the darkness, hoping to get something done. Yomu's popped. We'll be able to back away though. Using the Edge of Night as well, not ideal. Would have liked to have that in a fight with Caps in the future, but just hoping, desperately hoping to get that pick onto Perks. Cusp of elimination for SKT. FPX, G2, SKT, those were the favorites. One of them will go home today. Perks pushes in, he breaks the tier 2. This could be the final fight. Khan zooming in, he has the home guards, he's ready to go at a moment's notice. For now, just trying to clear the waves.
And SKT doesn't even have flank wards. They kind of just have to sit here and absorb G2 and hope they don't get engaged on, because a straightforward initiation doesn't work into Ornn and a Yasuo wind wall.
Pull just gets used from Khan. He's back to base. This is going to mean that the bot tower is exposed. G2 are going to be able to break into the base. Bear in mind, they have 2 exposed inhibitors themselves. If SKT find a big fight, they're looking for Perks.
Faker fishing for the flank. Windwall comes through. Perks still alive right in the midst of the Windwall. Just needs to back up a little bit, trying to dash through. That's the knockup. He could get the reset, but no. Mistiming, misexecution from G2 costs him his life. That's the shutdown. Now they have to retreat. Now Khan can hunt, can look for that fight, but instead SKT will just call a stop to the action.
So Perks gives up his life, but it does mean that G2 can secure the bot inhib. The question is, with 5 members alive for SKT, and with a 40-second death timer on Perks, can SKT convert this into inhibitors of their own?
Can they convert it into an end? Their team fight is incredibly strong.
Look at this as well. They're doing the Mountain to open up the Elder Drake as a potential win condition. We've seen G2 win every single one of these fights, which means that if they can force a fight around this Elder, this time they should be able to win.
G2 can now step forward, but it's Faker once again waiting in the darkness. Grass Blade, not the Water Blade, but out comes the Orn Horn. Caps fishing for 1 or 2 picks. They might not want to take the fight, but they do. They're still going to go in 4v5, trying to peel away. Faker waiting, trying to find an opportunity to go over the wall. The Varsalt is not going to connect. It hits, but it will not secure any follow-up.
Keep an eye on the cap stun. Ooh, he messes up the execution.
Baits it out though. Clid had to go up into the air, and it doesn't matter if he messed it up because Clid is still going to go down. But Khan right to the backside. Caps goes golden. There's no one else to follow up. Khan's damage doesn't matter. But the ulti comes out in such a close exchange. For now, they're winning, but Perks is coming in. This is his hero moment. If he wants to turn this fight in favor of team, this could be the game-defining moment. Faker is gone. Teddy's next on the list. There's no way he can duel a Yasuo. Amada's coming in, but he's just walking into the meat grinder of Perks. Khan, can he do it? It's not enough. They've done it. G2. Khan, can he get it done? He can. The Vladimir. They can't do it. This is it. The greatest team in the history of League of Legends, taken down by the greatest team Europe has ever produced. FPX, get ready. G2 is heading to Paris.
This G2 esports team was not built to win. It was built to conquer. It had to go through so many obstacles. They had to fight every Korean team on the way here. Griffin in groups, Damwon in quarters, and the ultimate final boss of SKT in the semi-finals, and they overcame them all. G2 now make their way towards the World Finals, and they will go up against FPX.
And every single one of those games was close. You could feel the energy just oozing out of the screen in every single game. The way that G2 came together as a team. They were down in all those games. A lot of teams, when they're down, they can start pointing fingers, they can start tilting, they can lose what makes them great. But that didn't happen with this G2 team.
And when it mattered most, Perks getting obliterated in so many team fights. It was Caps carrying 90% of that game, but in the final team fight, when everything was set up for him to succeed, Caps pulls through, or rather Perks pulls through, pulls off the Yasuo fight that they've been waiting for, wins the series for his team. And how can you not be happy if you're a G2 fan after a series like that? Once again, taking a win over SKT.
Incredible, incredible series. And this G2 team definitely wasn't built overnight. They were the more experienced team than SKT.
Ngày xưa ấy nghĩ rằng tay trong tay phải chiến thắng tất cả, mình giải khờ thế đây. Thời gian tàn nhẫn ta chỉ biết im lặng, đành mặc cho nhân duyên sắp đặt. Từng lời đã hứa nay chẳng thể giữ nữa, em phải nhớ người khác gánh vác. Chúng ta sau này sẽ có tất cả, chỉ tiếc rằng không thể có nhau. Đã chẳng ta đã quá bồng bột, cứ yêu cứ mơ mà không hề biết phải yêu một người thế nào. Để rồi khi học cách yêu rồi mới nhận ra chúng ta chẳng còn lại gì ngoài chữ đã. Chúng ta phải biết vấn vương những gì nếu không nợ nhau, nếu không tiếc nuối. Vì ngày xưa ấy nghĩ rằng tay trong tay phải chiến thắng tất cả, mình giải khờ thế đây. Thời gian tàn nhẫn ta chỉ biết im lặng, đành mặc cho nhân duyên sắp đặt. Từng lời đã hứa là cơn gió ngang trời. Mọi người xung quanh thay nhau cho tôi biết cô thắm không về nữa đâu. Đặt tròn niềm tin sai người, giờ này ai khóc ai cười, thề hẹn làm chi để rồi bỏ đi. Tôi cố đem tình buồn đắm mây hóa ngang trời che lấp, tôi vẫn nơi này đợi chờ. Cô về với tôi là vì tôi quá ngốc nghếch hay là do gia cảnh tôi nghèo. Tôi đã chỉ cần những tông bồng trang cung đề. Bao nhiêu ký ức mơ thường giờ từng cái đắng ngót cười. Nào sẽ sáng mây cứ lặng lấy giấc tối có người đón đưa. Tìm dừng theo gió mây nàng, một hồn thương nhớ bé bàng. Phần đời nắng cháy giờ đứng nơi cùng với ai. Giờ đã không từng cay đắng nhưng cớ sao lòng vẫn buồn. Làm phu làm thuê làm sao vẫn cho được ngọt ngào. Cố gắng ngày nào bên tôi hay cũng xa dần mất rồi. Tôi phải quên. Từng là hơi ấm bên đời, giờ là cơn gió ngang trời. Mọi người xung quanh thay nhau cho tôi biết cô thắm không về nữa đâu. Đặt tròn niềm tin sai người, giờ này ai khóc ai cười, thề hẹn làm chi để rồi bỏ đi. Tôi cố đem tình buồn đắm mây hóa ngang trời che lấp, tôi vẫn nơi này đợi chờ. Cô về với tôi là vì tôi quá ngốc nghếch hay là do gia cảnh tôi nghèo. Tôi đã chỉ cần những tông bồng trang cung đề. Bao nhiêu ký ức mơ thường giờ từng cay đắng ngót cười. Nhà nào sẽ sáng mây cứ lặng lấy giấc tối có người đón đưa. Tìm dừng theo gió mây nàng, một hồn thương nhớ bé bàng. Phần ngày nắng cháy giờ đứng nơi cùng với ai. Cay đắng nhưng cớ sao lòng vẫn buồn. Làm phu làm thuê làm sao vẫn cho được ngọt ngào. Cố gắng ngày nào bên tôi hay cũng xa dần mất rồi. Tôi phải quên. cuộc sống vốn dĩ bao la, làm sao tìm được nhau khó thế nào. Em vẫn đứng đó nhìn theo bóng ai dù xa xôi muốn chung cánh chờ, rồi tương lai có biết bao điều sẽ khiến em bận lòng. Vậy thì giờ đây cho ai kia dõi theo bóng em được không? Anh muốn em đừng giận hờn vu vơ, vì đôi lúc anh khiến em phiền lòng. Anh muốn em đừng nở nụ cười trong mơ, nhớ đến anh mỗi ngày. Anh muốn em đừng nói em để tâm đây, khi thấy anh vui đùa bên ai. Những thứ em đã từng làm cho anh thì không nói ra, nhưng anh biết người ơi, cuộc sống vốn dĩ bao la, làm sao tìm được nhau khó thế nào. Ta vẫn đứng mỗi người một phương, trông về hình bóng ai dù khác hướng. Đừng tương lai có biết bao điều sẽ khiến ta bận lòng. Nhẹ bàn tay đưa nhau qua bão giông, khó khăn được không? Cuộc sống vốn dĩ bao la, làm sao tìm được nhau khó thế nào. Ta vẫn đứng mỗi người một phương, trông về hình bóng dù ai khác hứa. Đường tương lai có biết bao điều sẽ khiến em bận lòng. Vậy thì giờ đây cho ai kia dõi theo bóng em được không? Lòng thì đau đớn trong em khổ đau, mà chẳng dám khóc đâu ai hiểu không. Vẫn phải thêm chiếc